National Convention, let me know so I can see you when we get there. I'll give you a big hug. In case you haven't gone to the convention before, ask anybody who's been there, and they will tell you that the convention literally is one of the most amazing experiences that you'll ever have in your life. The All Black National Convention was created basically as a solution to the fact that we, as Black people, just don't really have any conventions that really represent our interests. You know, we just don't really have anything out there, in my opinion, that really hits hard enough, especially given that that Blackness and wokeness has kind of become in vogue now. Everybody, you know, wants to be Black. I think a lot of people want to be Black, but don't always know exactly how to be Black. And if they know how to be Black, it's usually, you know, they're reading from the wrong instruction manual, because a lot of the things that we think of as Black culture really isn't Black culture. You know, and hey, Antoinette says she's going and she can't wait. Good. Well, tell them how great it was. If you went to the last convention, let them know how dope it was. It was literally one of the most amazing experiences that you can ever imagine. And so, anyway, you know, I've been invited to a lot of the different conventions. You know, I've been invited to the NAACP convention. I've spoken at the Urban League convention. I have been to the Congressional Black Caucus convention, spoken there. I've spoken at all these different conventions. And every time I went, I always felt like something was missing. Every time I went, I always felt like something was wrong. You know, I always felt like, you know, I said, gosh, you know, man, it sucks being Black sometimes because sometimes you feel like a lion putting on a pussycat uniform, you know, like you're a lion on the inside, and they dress you up like Sylvester the pussycat, and you gotta meow all quiet and meek and humble and everything else. And I don't know about you, but that really burns me up. Like, I don't like that. You know, I don't like having to hide who I am as a Black person in order to make somebody else comfortable. That's not fun for me. That's very uncomfortable for me. And literally there are times in my life where I'd rather just be dead than be a punk. I'd rather just be dead than to sit there and, you know, kiss somebody's ass, because you got to understand that the white male is in competition with the Black male. Men compete with each other. Women do too. Women compete in their own way, no question about it. But men, we also have our own special type of competition. And so, you know, when you're telling Black men that the best way to get ahead is to sit down, shut up, and be quiet, you kind of end up killing a part of his soul. You know, you're killing a big part of who he is meant to be as a person. You know, he doesn't reach the destiny that God meant for him to have because everybody's telling him to be something other than what he's supposed to be. In fact, let me show you. I put this little, I like to put obnoxious memes on my Instagram in case you follow. So this is something I put up on Instagram. It's the picture of that little cat that was in the Shrek movie, where the little cat would get those little watery eyes, like a little baby whenever he wanted something. And I said, this is how we look when we beg, when we ask other people to create jobs in our community. And that literally came straight from the heart. You know, it came from the fact that this is how I feel. You know, when I hear our so-called leaders, right? Our leaders, our strongest Black people in the community, strongest people we can find, strongest Negroes anywhere, right? In our minds, right? Our greatest, most powerful leaders literally going to white men and saying, we need you to feed our families for us. You know, we need you. We're begging you, please, sir, massa. I hate to disturb you, sir, but can you please help me and my chillums get something to eat today? Because I know that we can't feed ourselves, because I was handicapped and I was a child. I was a little girl. I was a little wimp, you know. And what happens is that what you got to understand is that begging, reducing real men, taking like strong men and reducing them to beggars, what that does is that kills, you're literally killing off that species. You know, you're killing their ability to reproduce, because if you study nature and survival of the fittest, you know, Darwinian stuff, you know, Darwinian meaning, you know, how does one group of animals overcome another one? You find that reproduction is competition. You know, that's why women are attracted to the strongest men. Typically, they're not attracted to the dumb man. They want the smart man. They're not attracted to the broke man as much. They're usually attracted to the man that's got a little more money. They're not attracted to the man who has no confidence. They're attracted to the man who has a lot of confidence. They're less likely to be attracted to the short man than they are to the tall man. They're less likely to be attracted to the less powerful man than they are to the more powerful man, right? All these things go back to a very basic concept. And the concept is competition, competition. And so the reason that a lot of what you hear from me, as well as, when I'm teaching classes in the Black Business School and stuff like that, the reason you hear something from me that's different from what you hear everywhere else is because I used to be where a lot of you are right now. I used to be there. I used to be in the whole, Black Lives Matter. Let's get the Democrats in office. Let's all go out and rock the vote and help us get ahead. And let's go to this march on Sunday so we can march and let's pray about it, because the white man's evil and the God's gonna get him. And it doesn't mean I don't agree with those ideas. If you have any of those ideas, I'm not making fun of you, but I had to grow out of that, where I realized, like, wait a minute, if I no matter how much I pray, it seems like things ain't getting no better. I'm praying for things to get better. Maybe they get better after I'm dead. Maybe that's what I'm supposed to believe, that in the afterlife, I'm supposed to get the life that I'm supposed to have. I talked to one of my friends, I kid you not, and she literally said to me, she said, well, I'm going to get my rewards in heaven. So while I'm here on earth, I'm just biding my time until I get my rewards in heaven. And I couldn't believe she said that. I said, I was sitting there thinking, wow, so you're throwing your whole life away. You're not going to go out and fight for anything because you're just waiting. You're just sitting and waiting and letting everyone else, letting white folks or whoever, more competitive people, take the things that you would like to have because you've been convinced that all your rewards are going to come in heaven. That's like being in a basketball game and me telling you, hey, let me score all the points right now. Your rewards are going to come after the game is over. After the game is over, when you get in the locker room, there's a big birthday cake and a big chicken leg waiting for you in the locker room after the game is over. So just relax. Let me score all the points, because points don't mean nothing. Everybody's cheering for me, and I'm gonna have the trophy, and I'm gonna get the $1 million prize, but that don't mean nothing. That's all bad. That's all evil. You let me be evil, and your rewards is waiting for you in the locker room after the game is over. That's kind of what I see when I hear that mindset. So obviously I've kind of evolved away from that. Doesn't mean I'm here to make fun of anybody, but it does mean that I spend a lot of time always thinking about competition. And I try to think about, okay, when one group competes with another group, why did that group get more power than everybody else? How did that group end up on top and the other groups ended up on the bottom? And that's everything from how the New England Patriots were able to make the comeback against the Atlanta Falcons in that Super Bowl, to how the Nigerians are able to educationally dominate every culture that they run into, right? How did the Jews get all the money, right? How did China get so much power? How did the Golden State Warriors come to dominate the entire Eastern Conference in every championship series? How does that happen? How does that power? Okay, how did Donald Trump get to be president of the United States even though half the world thinks he's a prick? How did that happen? And what happens is that a lot of people can't go there with me because they're still stuck in that first level of thinking. That first level of thinking is very emotional, very reactionary, very almost like, you ever heard somebody say that that was being bitter is like drinking poison and think the other person's going to die, but really when you're drinking poison, you're going to die. So when you're sitting around being bitter and mad, you're literally killing yourself with poison, and you think somehow you're getting the other person because you tweeted about it or you hashtagged them to death or you complained about them or you prayed against them or whatever. And really, I think that that's part of what kills Black people. That's what kills your soul, is that, you're drinking poison and you think the other person's going to die. You're carrying the poison of bitterness toward the Donald Trumps. You're carrying bitterness toward the power of the white man. You're carrying bitterness toward all the people who are doing better than you. You're carrying that bitterness and you're drinking this poison and it's killing you. But somehow you think that if you keep drinking poison, it's eventually going to come back to them. And that's not the way this game works. I would rather sit down with you, have a meal with you. If you're my competitor and you kicked my ass the last time, I'd rather sit down and have a meal with you. And I'm gonna slip some poison in your drink. You're gonna be drinking the poison. I'm not drinking any poison. So at the end of the day, I think that spending less time being mad is probably for the best, because anger takes energy. I don't really get angry at Donald Trump. People get angry at me for not getting angry at Donald Trump. I don't really get angry at Donald Trump because I don't feel like Donald Trump's really worth my time. He's not. He's only of interest as a subject that I might study to say, gosh, this man, everyone hates him. Everyone's trying to take him down. How does he survive all of this? How does he do that? And I put up another obnoxious meme that I'm gonna show you guys in 1 second. Let me see. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm the real. It's at the real Boyce, Watkins. I think is what it is. And I love to put up obnoxious memes. I'm just a jerk like that. I might as well embrace it. But let me, and it really kind of reflects the sarcasm I feel in my heart when I sort of see us, falling behind and not doing anything to try to catch up. So you see this meme, it says, keep marching, praying, and voting, and I will be turning my kids into billionaires, right? And that's a picture of Trump. And I knew when I put it up, I knew people would get mad because Donald Trump's in the picture. And that's the reality. I was floating through Instagram and I saw some stuff on what was it on Ebony magazine. I think it was Ebony or Essence, one of the two, on their Instagram page. And I saw Michael Eric Dyson, smart guy. I respect this guy a lot. And he's talking, and I'm like, what are they talking about? What are they getting riled up? They're probably just sitting around complaining and being angry about white people and what they're doing to them. And it was like all about rock the vote, rock the vote, rock the vote, right? And so, I'm not against that. I mean, we spend time watching TV and stuff. So if you want to spend time voting too, that's cool. It's not any less. It's not any more of a waste of time than watching TV. Maybe it's probably more productive, right? Sure, do that. But I think it's unfortunate and quite fascinating that when you have all these problems, all these issues, all these serious situations you're trying to resolve, and you've been trying to solve these problems for 80 years, at least 80 years, really 100 years, 200 years. And you every time, the only thing they can tell you is make sure you vote in November. Make sure you give me your vote. And nothing changes, nothing gets better. I think that's like a form of insanity that's been fed to us. I think that is a form of that's significant, very deep-seated brainwashing. I reject that because I think, okay, well, somebody has to say it. Somebody has to be the person who says, let's get off the treadmill. Let's get off the treadmill and start really making a move. Sure, when you jump off the treadmill, it's going to be a little uncomfortable. You're not going to get the sensation that you get when you're running in place and you feel like you're going somewhere, but you're really going nowhere. So you don't get that satisfaction of feeling like you're doing something, even though you're doing nothing. But then reality is kind of hitting you where you're like, wait a minute, if I run just as hard on the ground as I ran on the treadmill, it's going to be tougher because the floor isn't moving for me, but I'm actually going to go further. I'm going to move forward as opposed to sitting still. So even at 1/3 of the effort I was given on the treadmill, I will go further than I did on the treadmill. I will go further by running on the ground, even if I'm going very slow, than I did on the treadmill when I was running very hard, right? So ultimately, I think that for Black people, I'm not going to say to vote or not to vote. People get angry. People don't get angry with me for telling Black people not to vote because I don't tell Black people not to vote. I've never said do not vote. Two things that people get angry at me for. I'm talking about the powers that be, the people that have a stake in keeping you in the same position, to keep you running on that treadmill where your children will have the same problems 30 years from now that you have right now. The reason they get mad at me is because I'm a guy who reaches 1 million Black people a week. And I tell Black people to make your own decisions based on what you think is going to work for you and your family. That right there is enough of a threat. And the reason it's a threat is because there are people who have a vested interest in keeping you still, in keeping you redundant, right? There are people that literally get mad at me. Like they actually get mad at me for two reasons. One, because I tell Black people to make their own choice. And two, when people ask me, well, are you going to vote in the next election, Dr. B? And sometimes I say, no, I got other things to do that day. I'm going to be teaching my kids. I'm going to be going over the financial flashcards with my kids, whatever. Right. And I'm just honest, it's not, and I'm fascinated by this idea that I can be in a so-called free country, in a place where Black people allegedly have done all this work with our allies to become free. I'm so fascinated that there are so many people who are offended with what I do with my freaking freedom. I'm not going to cuss because I try not to cuss when I'm teaching, but people get mad at me for what I do with my freedom. Right. I ain't never told y'all not to vote. I don't do that. I know I'm a leader. I know that people follow me. I know that I influence people. But a lot of times I have influence because I don't exert that influence. I'm not here to tell you I'm the greatest Black man alive. I'm not here to tell you that I'm the king of Blackism all around the world. I'm not here to tell you that everybody should follow me. I'm here to say, let me just be an advisor. Let me just teach you something, because I think I can be a pretty good guide if you want to learn how to look at things differently. If you do not look at things differently, then you will look at them the same. If you look at things the same, then your results are going to be the same. Do you think that your results are going to change if you have the same strategy that you had before? Well, that wouldn't make any sense now, would it? So, when I see all the Rock the Vote campaigns, here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing actually the real power. The real power is the power of money, right? Here's where I'm coming from, right? So y'all know where I stand. I'm a finance PhD. So to me, money is like oxygen. Money just flows and moves and shakes everything, right? And that's why I want us to control and understand money, where to get it, how to obtain it, have a strategy to go get it, compile it, protect it, serve it to our children, all of that, right? So when I see the Rock the Vote campaigns, I'm seeing the money flow. And so when I see like a black radio station that has a black public figure on the air who says, I'm here to tell everybody to make sure you go out and vote. Everybody make sure you get out and vote in November because we got to get Trump out of office or whoever it is, right? I'm seeing money flow. I'm thinking, okay, that radio station must have got money from the Democratic Party to get these black public figures on the air to tell black people to go vote. Now, if you follow the trail though, and you say, well, what are the results of this voting? What does this voting really do? How accountable are these politicians to the black community once you elect them? They don't have good answers for that. The only answer they have is, well, we didn't get everything done we wanted to get done last time, so vote for us again, and we'll do it this time, we promise. And I find it really fascinating that this trick works over and over and over again. Right? I'm so fascinated by this. It's almost like with a baby. My brother, I went down to Colombia this week to see my brother's new baby. He just gave birth to. I'm gonna show you our picture when he gives me permission. I can't show another man's baby on the internet, but she's a beautiful child, and she's 6 days old. And I was thinking about the brain of a baby and how babies are fascinated by the silliest things, like the game Peekaboo. The game Peekaboo, you ever see where you go, Peekaboo, Peekaboo, right? And you keep doing that. And each time the baby's like, and then you do it again, Peekaboo, and the baby's like, right? And literally it happens over and over and over again. Like you could literally play Peekaboo with a 6-month-old or a 1-year-old for hours. And each time they're like, oh my God, this is amazing, right? And I found out that the reason that Peekaboo is so effective on the brain of a child is because when you disappear in that child's mind, you've really disappeared from existence. Like if you hide behind the counter, the child's like, oh my God, you don't exist anymore. And then you come back and they're like, oh my God, there you are. And then you're gone and they're like, what happened? Is he dead? And then you come back and they're like, oh my God, there he is again, right? And black people, that's what that reminds me of when the politicians, keep coming to you with the same promises and then they lie. And then they come back with more promises and then they don't follow through again. And then they come back with more promises. We get excited. Oh yeah, absolutely. Rock the boat. And then they let us down again. And I've just thought about that. I'm like, wow, that is so fascinating. I'm so impressed that they have the ability to control the minds of millions of people and really make them fall for the same game over and over and over again. Like that's really, how do they do that? I'm not even so much mad as I am just fascinated by it. I'm like, are we like the little babies that we're, with the Peekaboo thing? Or almost like, you ever seen a woman who keeps getting lied to by the same guy over and over and over again? He charms her every time and makes a bunch of promises, and then he breaks every promise he makes. And then he says, yeah, I'm sorry. I know I was wrong last time, and I'm a bad person. And then she forgives him again. It's kind of the same thing. So basically, I think that when you're talking about Black power, I think you got to really think about what power looks like, where power comes from, how to obtain that power. And the biggest thing to understand about power is that power usually is not built overnight. So if you're a person who's seeking power and you're not prepared to have a long-term plan, a plan of at least 30 years for your family, well, even a 20-year plan can kind of work. But a 30-year power plan, like a 30-year millionaire plan is about the number that you want to aim for. If you can't make a 20 or 30-year plan, at least, then you'll probably never have any power. That's like me making a plan to become a bodybuilder and I give myself 2 weeks. I can't be a bodybuilder in 2 weeks. It's going to take a long time. I got to go to the gym hundreds of times to get my muscles up to that level, right? So wealth is kind of the same way. It's like a lot like being a bodybuilder. Now let me let me ask you. Let me first of all let you guys know. I don't know if any of you have tried out the new law school we have in the Black Business School. We actually have a legal program, which is basically a law school for people who don't want to be lawyers, but it's for people who want to advocate for other people and with the law. We have 3 attorneys in the Black Business School: Demario Solomon Simmons, attorney Tanya Nebo, and attorney Nicole Compton. And basically Nicole, at least, and Tanya and Demario, actually all of them pretty much meet with the students every week and answer questions and actually give you structured lectures on all the different areas of law. And we're actually next going to develop a law school for children. So if you have a child that wants to go to, a Black law school for kids, we're actually going to have something like that in place. The price, might be a couple of dollars a day, literally. But the good thing is that once they're done with the material and the curricula, they can actually get like a little degree they can put up on their wall. And that's important because I want, with the Black Business School, my belief has always been that whatever white folks can do, we can do just as good or better. And we can also do it more custom made for Black people. So I said, no, we want to give out our own degrees. We want to create our own certification process, just like they created their own certification process. So people would say, well, are you accredited by the such and such organization? And I would say, no, they're not accredited by us either. And that's a different level of thinking. We're thinking in terms of developing our own systems, our own infrastructure. So basically, if you want to check out the law school, you can actually get the first 30 days for free. So we kind of do an honor system where the first 30 days you can kick the tires, try it out. You can also get a certificate and a degree yourself once you're done with the whole curriculum. You can go to theblacklegalprogram.com. That's theblacklegalprogram.com. Also for kids, our business school for children is at blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. That's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. In both those programs, I believe right now you can still get the first month for free. So feel free to give it a try. And the goal has always been with the Black Business School to say, okay, how do we take what, people learn in college, but make it more relevant to the real world, make it more specific to the needs of Black people. I believe Black people don't need jobs. We actually need the ability to create jobs. That's what we need in our community. We do more jobs for Black people. All that does is create more slavery. It's just higher paid slavery, right? It's like, these people that you claim to be competing with, these people that you claim are making your life miserable, are the same ones who are now your bosses. They're now telling you what to do. I don't want a white supremacist telling me what to do. I don't want a Donald Trump over my shoulder every day telling me what to do. So sometimes being unemployed can be better than working for a Donald Trump, right? So rather than doing that, my thought is, why not study what a Donald Trump did to make sure that his children will never have to work for you? Your children might have to work for his children, but his children will never work for yours, right? So think about that carefully. Your children could easily end up working for his children if you're not careful, but his children will never work for yours unless you do certain things. But even then, even if you do those things, his children are not built to be employees. His children are not even thinking in that way. And while we might want to say, well, it's because, he was rich, his dad gave him all his money. Well, remember, his dad didn't have a lot of money back in like 1913. Fred Trump was, his father died when he was 12 or 13 years old. And he was a carpenter, and he used to go around and make extra money by fixing people's apartments. And then he saw the real estate market, and he said, I think I'd like to actually own some of these apartments. So he saved his money up, bought one, and then he started renting property out. And that's how he became very wealthy. And then what happened is, with wealth, each decade, you kind of layer on top of what you were doing the previous decade. So by the time Donald came around in 1946, the whole scene had been laid out for him, right? If his father had made different decisions, like if his father had never quit his job and had just stayed a carpenter, then Donald Trump would probably be a carpenter. He'd be some random guy in New York hammering nails every day and, going to work and complaining about his boss, right? So what I need you to kind of visualize is very clearly, I need you to kind of think about this, okay? So Donald's life and his opportunities and his children's opportunities now are affected by what his father Fred did in 1918. If Fred had done different things in 1918, then Trump and his family would have different options in 2018. So What you do right now in 2018 is going to affect what options your grandchildren have in 2118. Do you follow me? What options do you want them to have in 2118? It's all on you. It's all on you. The weight of the world is on your shoulders right now. Whether you make a decision to move or not to move, there will be an impact. If you make a decision to sit still and not take action and not move forward in your life, then you're going to make it that much harder for your grandchildren, because everything you do is going to have a ripple effect on other people. But if you jump out there on a leap of faith and just, say to yourself, I don't even know how this is going to go, but I'm going to give everything I've got, go as hard as I can, learn as much as I can, push as far as I can, I guarantee you that there's going to be a huge win for your children and your grandchildren. Even if you become an entrepreneur and start a business and bust your butt, and even if the business fails, do you know how many multimillionaires got started in business because they saw their parents struggle with a business and they learned from their parents like what not to do next time, right? Now, I'm not trying to say you're going to fail. I don't want you to fail, right? But let's just be real. Everybody that jumps out there ain't going to win. Everybody that goes out there doesn't, get the big trophy at the end. But what I'm here to say to you, though, is that there really is a trophy for everybody who goes for it. Because there's no such thing as pain without growth if you internalize it the right way. There's no such thing as a true loss. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn, right? And so no matter what you do, no matter how things turn out, you're going to have a benefit for your family. Now, so when you talk to me about the afterlife, when people talk to me about, like I'm going to get my rewards in heaven, I'm biding my time, I'm waiting till I get to heaven. I do believe that there is an afterlife. Absolutely. But my afterlife is not the same as the afterlife for like my Christian friends who think about heaven and, the pearly gates and all that, or my Muslim friends. I think they say 72 virgins or something. It's a lot of virgins to keep up with. And then I guess you get up through all 72 of them, they ain't virgins no more. So how does that work? Do they recycle? Like, I don't get that part. But, and why is it 72 and not like 75 or 60? I don't get, anyway. I don't need 72. I only need a virgin, like just a good black woman would be enough for me. But, my vision of the afterlife is one where I know for a fact, and I can prove to you that there is an afterlife that occurs after you're gone. I can prove this. It's hard for you to prove to me that what heaven looks like. You can't really show me pictures. Ain't nobody been to heaven, took a selfie and came back, right? Can't nobody really show you what heaven really looks like, right? I hope we agree on that. I think it's kind of faith, right? But the other afterlife, I can prove to you that the afterlife exists. It happens every day. Somebody dies, a father dies, or a mother dies. Aretha Franklin died. And there's an afterlife. There are dozens, if not hundreds, maybe thousands, and probably actually millions of people whose lives are affected by the choices Aretha did and did not make during her life, good and bad, right? We talked about the bad, right? Aretha didn't leave a will or an estate or a trust or anything like that, or she didn't do much estate planning. So that's the bad. The good, though, is that she made beautiful music. She fought for civil rights. She stood up as a strong, beautiful black woman that she was. So people were affected by that too, right? Aretha's whole legacy isn't ruined because of what happened with the will. It's just something we want to improve upon. So same thing is true for you. There is going to be an afterlife for you. And that afterlife is going to be about 1,000 times greater, more impactful, and more significant than the life you're living right now. The only value to which your life right now has any meaning is to the extent that it impacts your afterlife. Like maybe skipping a rock on the water, the ripple effect. Like if I throw a rock in the water, the rock's going to hit the water, but then there's going to be all these waves and ripples that happen after I hit the water, right? So your life maybe is that rock hitting the water, but then there's the ripples that occur long after the rock is sunk to the bottom of the lake. Right. So basically, I think you need to really meditate on this and ask yourself, what's going to be my ripple effect? Like when I'm really living, like when my impact has really started to be felt by my family. And y'all know what I'm talking about. Most of y'all are affected deeply by the life of some other person. Maybe you got to think about your grandmother that maybe passed, or your father that loved you so much, or maybe a really close friend or a sibling or a cousin or whoever you were close to. Right. So what happens is that a lot of times We see what's happening now, but we cannot see the ripple, you know? And I encourage you to really meditate on the ripple, because that's really when you get a chance to live. You know, after I really started thinking about this, I became really obsessed with my death. I really did. People thought I was dying. They thought I was crazy. And actually, they didn't understand that sometimes in order to really live, you actually have to die first. And it's not just the physical death, right? It's obviously a metaphorical thing, right? But it's a death of your ego, a death of your short-sightedness, the death of your small thinking, the death of a lot of the things inside of you that make you way too human to be able to really win this thing or conquer this thing called white supremacy, right? The death of your fear, overcoming that, confronting the fear, and literally dying in the midst of that fear, living through your worst nightmare, and then coming to life after you realize that you can still survive that. So what happened was, I really came to life, and I became obsessed with my death. And I was sitting around, I was like, okay, if I die tomorrow, how much insurance do we have? If I die tomorrow, do we have the trust and the wills in place? If I die tomorrow, what's going to happen with this company? I told my manager, I said, if I die, do this, take about $10,000-$20,000 out of my insurance, and I want a statue. I want a statue right here. I know it was like in my little thing. I know that probably sounds arrogant, but because I saw this guy who'd been dead for 250 years, and he's got this cool statue on the lake, and I was like, I want one of those. That would be cool to have a statue. So, so anyway, the point is that when you start really thinking that way, what happens is that you don't start, you let go of feeling like you have to do it all by yourself and that you have to do it all right now. You start realizing that your job is to really plant the seed and to kind of get the ball rolling. So what I encourage you to do is think about your kids, or think about your family, or think about anybody that you care about, and just kind of ask yourself, okay, if I died tomorrow, what legacy have I left? What have I taught a child that they're going to teach their children? What have I done in my community that's going to be impactful long after I'm gone? What am I leaving in terms of, wealth or resources that's going to make somebody's life better because I was here? If I'm poor and I have a life insurance policy for $50,000, which doesn't cost that much, especially if you're younger, if you're under the age of 50, can I put somebody in a position where they can quit their job? Maybe my death can be a benefit to somebody else. Right. So I think when you think that way, it kind of allows you to kind of see this amazing amount of power that you have that goes far beyond what you have right now. I'll give you an example. When I told you guys I went down to Colombia this week to spend time with my new niece and to meet her for the first time. And she's a beautiful little girl. Her name's Amina. And my brother and I were talking about our plan for Amina. I said, she ain't gonna be no okie doke Negro out here struggling. She ain't gonna be running around talking about how she can't get ahead because white people got their foot in her neck. That's not gonna happen. But my belief about racism and white supremacy is that white supremacy is a strong force. It's like Hurricane Florence, right? Gale force winds that will blow over most objects that are not firmly planted to the ground, right? Hurricane Florence, if the winds are 80, 100 miles an hour, it will blow down anything that's not deeply stuck in the ground. But there are going to be some rocks, some structures that the hurricane cannot blow down, that no hurricane can blow down, right? There are going to be some things that are so firmly planted, so sturdy, so have so much mass that it doesn't matter how much wind you put on it, it ain't moving. Well, why is that the case? Well, because it was built that way. It was built that way. You see, and so some Black people are built that way. Some Black people are built like sturdy rocks. Some Black people, maybe they're not built that way, but they become that way. They become sturdy, firm, planted into the ground. So you can come through, you can call them the N-word. They're going to be all right. You can come through, you can look at them funny, clutch your purse, act like, you don't like Black people. They don't care. You can come through and try to intimidate them. It ain't going to matter to them. You can hang a noose in his locker when he goes to work. He'll be all right. He'll put the noose in your locker and laugh about it, right? Like there are some Black people who are built that way. Some Black people who are built to be sturdy, but they don't really want in America when they're building Black people for you. This is why I'm very much against the public school system and against these corporations, et cetera. Most of them is because they're not trying to build sturdy Black people. I mean, they don't have any incentive to do that. They build flimsy Black people. They don't build black people who are built like rocks. They build black people who build that made out of paper, right? Where you think about it, a rock, a heavy rock versus a piece of paper. When the wind blows, the paper is going to fly any direction that the wind's going. The rock is going to sit still. You know, if it's raining, you know, the paper will get soggy and rips into pieces and fall apart. The rock's still going to sit there. It'll just be a wet rock, but it's going to still be a rock. It's still going to be sitting still, right? And so ultimately, you know, with my niece, I told my brother, with Amina, I said, I need her to be a rock, because she's a black woman in a world where black women don't always get preferential treatment. And we can't have her breaking down like a little wimp every time things get tough for her. We must make her tough. We must also at the same time give her weapons that help her to be tough. It's easy to be confident when you've got stuff at your back that allows you to be more confident, right? It's easy to be strong when you've got the weapons and the tools of strength already in your arsenal. So what we did for Amina is I said, we're going to create a trust for her. Uncle Boyce is going to put the first few $1,000s in that trust, and I'm going to put more money in it over time. But then also I'm going to have automatic deposits of a certain amount of money that'll just go in that trust. Just boom, 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 boom. And I'm not going to tell her nothing. It ain't going to be her money till I let her have that money. It won't be, it's my money until it becomes her money, but it's allocated for her in my head. But I'm not going to tell her about it, because I tell you what, I said, if she gets to be 20 years old and she gets wind of that money or touches that money and she gives it away to her boyfriend to get his car fixed, or some stupid thing that you know, where somebody takes some money from her, I'm gonna be mad. So I'm not even gonna tell her the money's there. Maybe one day she'll watch this video so she'll know more about it, but we're not gonna tell her anything, right? But here's the magic. Here's what we're doing. What we're doing is something very, very basic that anybody can do, no matter what your income level is. See, it's hard to be rich right now, but it's very easy to be rich in the future. So let me show you what I'm doing. Is I'm using what is called future value of an annuity factors. Future value of an annuity factors is what we teach in the Black Stock Market Program. If you haven't taken a look at it, the URL is theblackstockmarketprogram.com. That's theblackstockmarketprogram.com. So in the first month is free. You can try that too if you want to. But let me show you. So if you ever want to know how much money you'll have after a certain amount of time, the future value of an annuity equation is one of the most extraordinary equations in the world to do that. What you can do is you can find a calculator online and you can put in the amount. So let's say it's a monthly amount, and I can come up with $300 a month for my niece, right? $300 a month that I'm gonna put in an account for her. $300 a month. Some people may think that that's a lot. I don't know. Again, $300 a month is less than most people's car notes. I know broke people who spend more than $300 a month on a car note. In fact, a lady I know who called me, who can't pay her rent, called me and told me she had a car note for $600 a month. I don't have a $600 a month car note because I'd rather put money into things like this. So anyway, so let's say it's $300 a month. Then you can put in the number of years to calculate the future value for it. So you put in 30 years. I'm gonna give her access to the money on her 30th birthday. It will not be a lump sum. It will be in a trust so that I can set rules on how she can access the money. I'm not gonna just give her this money. The annual interest rate. Now, the annual interest rate, that's one that's you know, arbitrary. The future of the stock market may not be the same as the past, but if you look at the stock market since say 1942, Warren Buffett talks about how he turned $114 into $114 into $460,000 by investing it in 1942 and just letting it grow. So what I did was I did backward engineering, and I calculated that the annual interest rate he would have had to have earned to allow that money to grow like that is about 11.5%, right? So that's about the return of the S&P 500. So in the Black Stock Market Program, for you guys that are already in there, you can log in at theblackstockmarketprogram.com and actually show you exactly like how that works and then where all these numbers come from. Okay, so then what you can do is you can hit calculate the future value of the annuity. Now what this tells you is, over time, I'm going to put in a total of $108,000. Over 30 years, I will put $300 a month, and that will total $108,000 in payments. But look at how much money I would actually have. She's going to have, Amina will have $947,725.31 under the assumption that the S&P 500 and the stock market continues on a pathway that is similar to what it's done for the last 60 years. That none of that is guaranteed. Anybody who ever tells you that they can predict what the stock market is going to do is lying, because you can't predict the stock market. You certainly can't predict an individual stock. But what is true is that a monkey could invest as long as they follow a couple of basic rules of investing, diversification and buy and hold. A monkey could invest literally, and the monkey would have more money than a smart person who went to Harvard who did not invest. So when people ask me, like, what's the best way to invest? What's the best stock to buy? I tell them the biggest mistake you can make in investing is to not invest at all. Because when you don't invest at all, what happens is that you're missing the growth of the money that you would be putting into the stock market, right? Money actually is supposed to be fertile. Money is supposed to grow and create more money. But if you don't position it properly, then it's not going to happen. It's like if I've got 4 daughters, my daughters have reproductive organs. They could give me 30 grandchildren or whatever, not 30, but you know what I'm talking about, or 10, 20 grandchildren, right? But if I shut down their reproductive organs, or if I stop them from ever meeting any boys that they want to have babies with, then there will only be 4 girls, right? But if I, let them socialize a little bit and open up the keys to their fertility, then guess what? In a generation, maybe instead of 4 daughters, I've got 12 grandkids. And then in another generation, instead of 12 grandkids, I've got 36 great grandkids. You see, money does the same thing that people do. When we look at the calculations and the mathematics behind the growth of money, those equations actually come out of biology. So literally all of our equations, when you're able to derive the root, because I know math pretty well. I taught math at the University of Kentucky. When you break down the equations on a very deep level, what you find is that these equations are just like the equations that you can use to calculate how much a flower grows in a certain period of time, right? Same idea. So that's the concept of financial fertility. Again, in the blackstockmarketprogram.com, if you guys want to go look, I do lectures on financial fertility, all of this stuff. And I teach it in a very unique way. And this is because I've spent 20 something years thinking about it from a lot of different angles and perspectives and finding ways to make sure my people understand this. I only create stuff for Black people, not because I don't like white people. Well, there are white people in my classes, I'm sure, if they can handle my level of Blackness. Most white people get afraid of me, but it's no disrespect. I don't hate white people. I don't hate anybody, but I'm not passionate about teaching people who are already winning. I'm passionate about teaching people who are not winning, who could be winners if they just have the keys to winning, the winning formula. So ultimately, if you look at this here, so with Amina, we're going to put $300 a month in her account. If it grows, if the interest rate or the average return on the S&P 500 for mutual funds matches what it's been for the last 60 or 70 years, Amina she'll be a millionaire. She'll have $947,725. And you can bet your ass that Uncle Boyce ain't going to put just $300 a month up in here. Some months, Uncle Boyce, if he's balling, he might drop 1,000 in there. Some months he might drop 2,000 in there, because I want her to win. Now, I want you to sort of stop and take a step back for a minute. And I want you to ask yourself, in your own life, how different would your life have been if you'd had somebody, Uncle Jojo or Aunt Rerun or something, who made a plan like that for you back in 1988. 1988 ain't that long ago. It's not that long ago. There are rappers that were rapping in 1988 who are still rapping today, right? There's a lot of stuff happening now that was happening in 1988. So 1988, it was a long time ago, but it wasn't that long ago. Some of y'all remember 1988, right? Holla if you hear me. Raise your hand if you do. So basically, what I have shown you is a very simple process where by 2048, your children can be millionaires. Your grandchildren, whoever you make this plan for, I use $300 a month as my example, and maybe you have to, make it a family fund. You all contribute together, whatever. See, because the thing I'm showing you is that the people who win in competitions are the people who are disciplined and coordinated. There's never a football team that can win a Super Bowl without the players being on the same page and being, a little tough, being committed to winning, practicing hard and working together and strategizing and being disciplined. The wide receiver can't be running around trying to do the quarterback's job. The quarterback can't be running around trying to be the left tackle. The left tackle can't be the linebacker, right? Everybody knows their job. Everybody's playing their position. So with your own family, I wish I could say we could save the whole Black community. We can't save the whole Black community because I don't have the media power to do what the Democratic Party and what white supremacy does in terms of brainwashing the entire Black community. I can't fight that. That is a torrential thunderstorm I can't stop. So it's going to happen. You're going to have people that are going to just repeat the same mistakes. They're not going to move forward. Nothing good's going to happen. And they're going to be confused. They're going to be in the middle of a math equation that they cannot solve. But for you, because you're here and you're hearing what I'm saying, and I just showed you with straightforward mathematics how any of your kids could be millionaires if you just have the discipline. You got a pathway out. You got a pathway out. I mean, I asked you this question. Which would you rather be? Would you rather be some toothless redneck white trash guy, out in Mississippi who drives a pickup truck to a construction job every day? Or would you rather be a Black man with $1 million in the bank? Which would you rather be? Who do you think is going to have more power in this country? The toothless hillbilly who works at the construction site and can barely pay his credit card off? Or the Black man who's got $1 million liquid in the bank and also knows how to start a business, knows how to invest in mutual funds, knows how to buy real estate, knows how to make moves? Who do you think has more power? Who do you think has more power in this country? Random, regular white folks or Dr. Boyce Watkins? I rarely meet a white person who does not end up having to serve me or look up to me in some way. It doesn't mean, now I'm not saying that the racism ain't real. I'm sure in the back of their minds, they calling me all kinds of niggas. I'm an uppity nigga, which makes me even worse, right? I'm sure they calling me all kinds of names, but they ain't gonna say that to my face. Not if you're serving me in this establishment. Not if you're the person carrying my suitcase to my hotel room. Not if you're the person who's chauffeuring the limo that I'm riding in the back of right now. And guess what? When I'm sitting there talking to your white boss about your behavior toward me, he's gonna side with me. He's gonna side with me. So I think that we have to lay this on the table, to understand, to kind of contradict the consistent narrative that says that just because you're Black, you're always losing. Maybe you can say, just because you're Black, you're always trained to be a loser. That might be a more accurate way to say it. So it seems like because you're Black, you're losing, but really it's because you're Black, you're trained to lose. I don't want your children to be trained to lose. I want your children to be trained to win. So with my niece, I'm going to train her to win. Not only are we going to give her $1 million for her 30th birthday, $1 million in 30 years, maybe $1 million it won't be like $1 million now, but it'll still be a lot of money, right? It'll still be a lot of money. But also we're going to give her all kinds of weapons. I said, number one, I'm glad my brother moved to Colombia to have his baby, because it's going to let her grow up in a different environment. She won't be as constrained psychologically as some of us are, just, by being, Black and from the South. I mean, my mind could not see certain things till I got to a certain age. I said she'll naturally be bilingual. She's going to know Spanish and English just because, because she's getting up every day. I said, so the other language, I want you to get her a Chinese tutor. So we're going to make an investment. Uncle Boyce will pay for it it doesn't matter. But we're going to get her a tutor that will teach her Chinese. And then I want you to take her to China a few times and let her really get to know the culture. Well, why did I pick Chinese? I picked Chinese because the Chinese are the great economic superpower of the next generation. Most of the commerce throughout the world, the majority of it is going to be happening or connected to China. So if she knows Chinese culture and knows the Chinese language and can seamlessly operate on multiple continents, then it's harder to put somebody in a cage if they are that mobile in the world. If a person has that much mobility and flexibility, it's much harder to put them in a cage. It's much easier for me to put you in a cage if you're standing still, right? If all you want to do is sit still and sit still in your mindset, sit there on your same block, in your same hood, and you scared to go down the street past the Popeye's chicken on the corner, then all I got to do is build a cage around you and lock you up in the ghetto, right? Whereas with her, I said, look, I want her to know she can live on any continent she wants to and be able to communicate and connect and do business and make money everywhere. And then also, of course, she's going to learn how to start a business. That's going to be a given. We won't even talk to her about getting jobs. We'll say that's what other people do. That's not what you're going to do. We'll never bring that up. She might get a job working for us, but most rich people, when they teach their children about when they have their children get jobs, it's so they can learn to take over the family business. So they might send their child to go work at Credit Suisse so they can learn how, high level banking works, so they can bring that back to the family trust fund, right? So that would be the only capacity within which you would have to work for somebody. So what I want you to also kind of think about, so imagine if you had somebody who in 1988 made a long-term wealth plan for you and wrote you a check right now for $500,000. Let's say it was even 200,000, a fifth of the amount I just showed you. So let's say they literally did 1/5 of what I just showed, $300 a month. $300 a month. There are people that spend more than that on their car notes. There are certainly people that spend 3 times, 4 times more than that on rent, which is giving money to your landlord. You're buying your landlord a house when you pay rent your whole life. I'm not making fun of you. I'm just telling you the truth. So that's why learning how to buy a home is an important step to building wealth. There are people that spend more than $300 a month. I've seen guys spend more than that at strip clubs. I've seen people spend more than that on fast food and going out. When people went to see the Black Panther, they took their family, their spouse and their kids or whatever, and they spent over $100 to go see one movie. All right. So what I'm saying is, keep doing all that if that's what you enjoy. But I'm saying, take some percentage of that income and have it in that place where it's going to be allowed to grow. Let your money be fertile. Okay. Because for a lot of you, if you'd had an uncle or an aunt or a grandparent that made a 30-year wealth plan for you when you were born, let's say they made the plan in 1988 and gave you the money today, a lot of y'all could quit your job tomorrow. If you had a relative that literally gave you $250,000, and let's say they also put you in the Black business school so you can learn how to start a business and make investments and stuff, a lot of you would never work again. That transition to quitting the job is really not as crazy as you might think it is. It's not easy to do, like, kind of on your own, but I can say that I've helped several people quit their jobs in my family and outside the family by just kind of giving them like an avenue to make enough money where they could replace those bills. And then what would happen is like I had a friend that I worked with for several years, a few years back, and she was working at a job that she didn't like, and she kept getting fired from different jobs because she just hated the job. She couldn't, like, racism really bothered her, so she hated kind of working around all these people. And so we gave her a little gig, like working with us, and it was like a transitional kind of thing where she wasn't making as much money, but she was much happier. Her time was hers again. She was able to put time into the projects that really inspired her, some of which failed, some of which succeeded. And what I noticed was once she kind of left that space, it was like she got a mindset where she was like, oh, wait, there's money out here. I'm going to just get enough of this money. So even if I'm not rich yet, I can at least get by enough where I ain't got to go back to that old life. Like literally there was nothing you could have done to convince her to go back to her corporate job, because she was like, now that I've seen what it's like to really live, I don't want to go backward. I don't want to go in that other direction. And I remember she wasn't making that much money, so, and now she does. Now she makes, a lot more money she ever made on a job because she has a business and all that stuff. But, so that little transition is really not that big of a deal. And the reason that you want that wealth plan for your children and your grandchildren is because that money you leave them will be the money that they need to buy their freedom. It's no different from slavery. Back in 1865, Dr. Claude Anderson, who is part of the Black Business School as well, Dr. Claude Anderson, he said, in 1865, 98, 99% of all Black people work for a white person. He said in 2018, 98, 99% of all Black people work for a white person. So the same way your ancestors had to buy their freedom on the plantation, you kind of have to buy your freedom now, but once you do it, I swear it changes your life so much. It makes you so much happier. It's not even just about the money. It's like when I didn't have to go to work every day, I remember just feeling like, wow, there's so much that's happening every day that I would have been missing if I was at this job all the time. It's almost like when you're working a lot, you're missing the fun parts of life. You only kind of get to live in the fringes. And that helps me understand why some people like really binge. Like on the weekends, they'll get a whole lot of sleep because they're making up for sleep that they lost during the week. Or they're out partying like super hard, or they go on vacation and they don't want to do any work. Like they'll see me working on a cruise ship and they'll be like, why are you working? You're on vacation. Why are you working? I'm like, well, because I got to get it done and I can take off any day I want. Like, it's not a big deal. But when it is a big deal, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be on vacation for 2 weeks. I can't do any work because you've been so overwhelmed and really worn down from having so much to do all the time and having it constantly dumped on you. So you were burned out. And so now you're kind of binging in the other direction. So you end up kind of living your life in these weird extremes. I don't really live in those extremes because every day I take a vacation. This afternoon, I took a vacation. This afternoon, I got tired and I didn't feel like being bothered. So it was noon. I went upstairs, I laid in the bed, I watched Netflix for 2 hours and took a nap. And then when I got done, I was fresh. I was ready to work again. So a lot of people, you might see me, you guys might see me, and it looks like I'm working, going. The secret to that is very basic. Number one, I'm very passionate about what I do. I just love this. This is fun for me. This is not really work. I'm not working when I'm talking to you, right? Number two, when I get tired, I just stop. There's nobody over my shoulder saying, you got to keep going. You got to keep working. You got to keep working right now. Now, I do pressure myself to say, okay, when you get up, Boyce, let's get back to it. Let's really get this stuff done. But if I'm tired, I just go take a nap, And so having that kind of freedom, I can't tell you how wonderful it is. Also, spending time with family that you never would have got to spend is a big deal. I went down, I wanted to see my niece when she was born. I went to Colombia because I had to be there. I had to be there to greet the baby. And, and I had relatives though who wanted to be there, but they couldn't be there. Because they had to work. One of my friends actually hit me up where she said, I didn't really understand what you used to say. And she said, now I understand. She said, when I started understanding it was when my mother was dying of cancer. And I wanted to spend every second with my mother before she died. And I couldn't because my job was making me go to work. And my mother's literally got 2 weeks left. And I've got to spend half of that 2 weeks at an 8-hour-a-day job. She said, that's when I realized the importance of what you guys are talking about. So, so this isn't, you're not just really fighting for money. You're really fighting for your life. You're fighting for your happiness and you're fighting for your grandchildren. Fight for that. Don't just think of all of this stuff as some big cash grab. This is not what this is about. You're not doing all this so you can just go drive a Bentley. I mean, that's nice. If that's what you like, go get one. But what'll happen is when you get to the point where you can actually afford a Bentley, you probably won't even want one because you're going to be thinking about all the other great things you could be doing with your money besides buying a Bentley. I could probably buy a Bentley if I wanted one, but I've never once got up and said, I need a Bentley today. I need to go and give $250,000 to a white person so I can feel better about myself. I've never felt that way. I get up thinking, I'm gonna get $250,000 so we can buy a building. Let's get a building. Let's go buy let's invest in some stock. Whatever. Like that's kind of what my thinking is. So anyway, one thing I'll tell you guys, if you have questions, if you're inside the webinar and you have a question, feel free to put your question in the Q&A section. If it's in the chat, I may not catch it, so put in the Q&A section. Let's see, Marcinda says, is the convention live stream link on the website? Yes, if you go to the All Black National Convention is in 2 weeks. And the URL, it's in Philadelphia. And the URL is allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. And it's kind of the Black convention to answer all Black conventions in the sense that everything, I don't care what your background is. I don't care if you're, Democrat, Republican, if you're tall or short, educated, uneducated, gay, straight, none of that stuff matters as long as you put Black people first. If you put Black people first, then you're welcome. You're welcome at the convention. And so you can learn more. I think I gave you allblacknationalconvention.com. On allblacknationalconvention.com, you can also find the URL for the live stream. If you go down to the bottom of the page and you look for that section that says live stream, you can actually join the live stream and watch it wherever you are. Some of you guys, I know some of you all are in London and other places. And just so you know, I love London so much, I'm going to go back. We're actually considering having a convention in London, so I can encourage some Negroes to actually get on a plane and come out of the country with us. But by the way, I'm going to lose you guys in 7 seconds, so I'm going to bring you guys right back in. So hold on. All right, so here's the convention page, and you can see that the page has all the information. You can apply to buy your convention pass here. There are different passes at different price levels. You can apply to be a vendor here. I don't think we have any more vendor slots. We have like 30 vendors now, and I think we can barely accommodate 30. So I don't think we have any more spaces for vendors. But here's the schedule. We've got a stock market masterclass this Saturday morning. On Thursday, there is a business development masterclass. Myself and attorney Nicole Compton will basically help you to understand how to start a business, how to get your business off the ground if you already have one, just kind of answer questions. Nicole Compton is not just a very smart lawyer. Lawyers tend to be very good at starting businesses because they understand the paperwork, they understand the administrative stuff, and I understand the strategic stuff. So basically, this masterclass is going to be at the Wyndham Hotel in the Philadelphia Historic District on Thursday. But if you don't get in early, that's okay. On Friday, that's when the doors open. Michi X from Fly Nubian Queens coming through. I'm going to give a speech to kind of open the convention, building the future of Black America around the Black Core of Three. And I'll tell you about the Black Core of Three in a little bit. We're going to do a panel on being Black in technology and why technology is so important when it comes to wealth building. The vast majority of all wealth created in the world is actually created through technology. People don't know that. So that's why you want your kids to be in business and technology if you want them to get ahead. London Lowe, an amazing singer out of Chicago, is going to perform. We've got another panel discussion. We've got a lot of millennial entrepreneurs that are going to be on this panel, including guys like Peter Parker, who's an award-winning filmmaker who does big deals now with Netflix and other companies. And we actually created a film together, or a show together. It's called Black Capital, which is super dope. It's a great show. Anyway, Julian Gordon from Stanford University is going to give a speech there. And then that night we'll do book signings and meet and greet, some of that. And then Saturday morning, we have a stock market masterclass. Now, these extra classes, like the master classes, you need a special pass to get into the master class. But if you have the VIP all access, then you can come to anything you want. If you have the general all access, then you can go to all the general sessions and all the film screenings and things like that. But the master classes would be extra if that's something you wanted to do. So anyway, let me get this stupid thing off my page. All right. So let's see here. And then I'm going to do a sort of a private meet and greet Saturday morning as well. Again, VIP pass for that, unless you have the all access VIP. Then we're going to talk about buying the block. So Saturday, Dr. Claude Anderson is going to speak, the Powernomics author, and then we're going to have a panel discussion on Black gentrification, basically, which is the hashtag that I hope you'll use, because Black gentrification is a concept that I kind of laid out there to say to Black people that, you don't have to sort of sit back and wait for other people to conquer your neighborhoods. You actually can conquer other people's neighborhoods if you want, or at least protect your own. So I've got experts in there that will talk about this. Kenny and Fatima Gamble of Universal Companies. They bought a lot of property in Philadelphia. Kenny literally bought an entire neighborhood. Like I'm talking about, you go to downtown, like prime real estate. This man owns millions of dollars in prime real estate in downtown Philadelphia. Dr. Venetia Dutra, one of the few Black women in the world with a PhD in finance. Jay Morrison from the Tulsa Fund, Carvin Haggins from Forge Studios, etc. And then we'll have a panel on why you should buy Black. And we're going to talk about buying Black as a way to fight white supremacy. We've got Ali Sulahadeen. We've got Michelle Kolchik, aka Michi X, Michael Imhotep from the African History Network, Andre Hatchett from the Black Real Estate School. And then we're going to have some performances by rappers and singers and stuff like that. And then Sunday, I'm actually going to unveil a 100-year economic plan for Black people. And this plan is actually one that is designed. It's not some great big pie in the sky kind of vision, like everybody give me $100 so we can go do this amazing thing. It's going to be something where it's going to be like, look, here's what you can do with your family to ensure that your family is going to be in the multimillionaire status or billionaire status within 100 years. What I'm going to do is basically break down this concept called exponential growth and how it works in finance and mathematics, and how we as Black people, those of us who get the vision now, can use exponential growth as a pathway to not just catch up with everyone else, but to actually accelerate past them. And so somebody asked, is Willie D going to be there? No, Willie D's not coming to this one. I love Willie D though. He's my buddy. I had Willie at the last convention. In fact, anybody who was invited last time, who wasn't invited this time, I don't want anybody to think that it was me being rude or disrespectful. It was just that there's a lot of people that I talk to that want to be invited to be at the convention or to be on a panel, and I can't get everybody in there. We can't get everybody. And plus, there's a committee that makes the decisions. So if you were invited and you didn't get invited again, do not take it as a slight. It's just us kind of rotating a little bit. Let me see here. I'm looking at some of your questions. So the URL, once again, is allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. David Butler, is there any interest in developing a business fund? Yeah, actually, we're going to do that. We're going to actually, I've talked to Dr. Venetia Dutra about sort of, the problem is that you have to follow the law, right? You can't, like violate SEC regulations and all that. So she got a lawyer together, or got a lawyer. And also, that I'm buddies with Jay Morrison with the Tulsa Fund. And we endorsed the Tulsa Fund. I invested in it. And the good thing is that Jay's actually been very generous and helpful in terms of giving us ideas on how we can move forward with our own fund. Our real estate fund is not going to be as big as Jay, so we're not going to be able to take as many people in because you have to get more SEC approvals and all that. But we're going to start off with $1 million, and we're going to do $1 million raise. And I'll let you guys know about it if you want to invest in it. And we're going to use that to actually buy some real estate and buy some Airbnbs, and also buy a building for the Black Business School. So I'll let you guys know about that when it happens. Kimberly says, sorry, Dr. B, I'll be in Paris next year for sure. Will you have information on next year's event early? Yes, we will. In fact, this is the third convention. Next convention, I'm going to get an event planner. So if you know good Black event planners, please feel free to have them email me. Our email address is manager@boycewatkins.com. That's manager@boycewatkins.com. How much is the live stream? Basically, the live stream is for those who are members of our study and action group. It's at abncdigital.com. And the good thing about ABNC Digital is let me see, I think there's a monthly fee to be in ABNC Digital. It's $79 a month, but the first month is free. And let me show you guys what ABNC Digital does. It's like a study and action group where you get access to a lot of stuff, a lot of educational stuff, and it's really sort of built for the entire family. And so if you go down, you can see that basically there you have access to a ton of our films and things like that, like Resurrecting Black Wall Street, Democracy, a Black American Horror Story, starring myself and Zaza Ali, which is a really good movie. A New Paradigm Brooklyn, an event I did with Dr. Cornell West. You have access to A New Paradigm in Chicago, which I did with Minister Louis Farrakhan. We did 2.5 hours of extensive teaching on wealth, education, family, and community. And we developed a new paradigm of thought for Black America. And then there's another one I did with Dr. Steve Perry that's centered around education. There's another film in here that's very helpful for your family called Raising a Black Scholar, directed by Tierra K.J. Williams. The Melanin Code, which if you haven't seen it, it's an amazing movie. We're going to show it at the convention. There's a lot of ebooks, there's panels, there's all of the footage from the last 2 conventions, as well as the convention we had in London. So you can kind of see here in the screen share how much stuff there is. So it's literally a ton of content. So if all of the films, let's say, if every piece of content had an individual price of say $15, and there's like 30 of them, and that's like $450 or something, right? So basically, the fee is $79 a month. You can be a member as long as you want. And a privilege for that membership is that you get to watch the live stream to the ABNC as well, if that's something that you enjoy. And the first month is free, so you can try it out and see if you like it. And if you like it long enough to stay, then we hope that you'll stay. We don't take donations in the Black Business School. We don't want donations. What we'd rather do is do a trade. So if you love what we do and you believe in what we do, don't give us anything. We want to give you something back, because we want to establish a habit of trade in the community, not something where people are always showing up with their hand out. I think that we as Black people are too regularly trained to be beggars. You see people that are, Black activists, and they're running a YouTube channel and they're speaking all this Black power stuff and whatever, but then they're like, can you please make a donation and keep my YouTube channel going? Well, that's not a very sturdy model of Black empowerment. You can't have, Black power if you don't have even basic economic power. If you don't have enough power to keep the lights on in your apartment, then, how can you liberate an entire community? So ultimately, we do ask for help from the community. I mean, without the community support, it's tough to do what we do. But we don't beg. We're not here to say, hey, give us a big donation. I need a donation. Give me money and I'll just talk to you, right? Or give me money and I won't do anything for you. Well, that doesn't help. Charity is not a good model to build a business. And the reason charity is not a good model to build a business is because charity is not a good model to build anything that's going to stand for a long period of time. Charity is not a good model to build a family. A lot of people raise their kids wrong when it comes to money. When you raise your kids where they grow up thinking that, you're always the supplier, like you're always the apple tree, and they're always supposed to show up with their hand out to take apples. Well, eventually that tree's going to die. That tree's going to die. So if you're smart, you train the child to plant some seeds so they can grow an apple tree of their own. Or you train them on the concept of reciprocity, where, okay, I might still show up asking for something from you, but I'm not asking you for your charity. I'm asking you for an investment. An investment is something where you win and I win. I get what I need and you get what you need. It ain't I get what I need and you suffer. Why do you think a lot of athletes go broke? Why do you think so many professional athletes end up bankrupt? They end up bankrupt because they got all these people with their hand out, a whole damn community of beggars, of people that think that because I'm Black, I am disabled. Because I am a Black man, I am totally handicapped and incapable of offering you anything of value. All I can do for you is show up and get on your nerves and beg you for more money. And then what happens is you're stressed out because you're trying to take care of everybody, right? You're trying to make it rain on your whole family because you got this survivor's guilt that comes from the fact that you came up out the hood and you're making $10 million a year in the NBA. So you're making it rain on everybody. And then the people that you're helping are only being enabled in their disability. They're becoming extremely capable at being incapable. They are the most they are the most capable disabled people that you would ever see. Like very good at being worthless. Not worthless in a sense that they're not valuable people, but I'm talking about worthless in the sense that they ain't offering you nothing. They go to dinner with you, the bill's $120. He won't even throw $10 on it. He ain't got $5 on it. He ain't gonna put $5 on it because he's thinking, well, you're the one who has all the money. You're the parent. I'm the child. Well, that's draining. That's very draining. So when it comes to your kids, I really encourage you to be there for them. Do stuff for them, but don't give them a lot of money without there being some condition attached. We're trained to believe that that's taboo. Like, oh, well, no, you should give without asking for anything. No, that ain't how the world works. Ain't nobody out here gonna give them a whole lot and expect nothing in return. Reciprocity. And also when they're adding value, that's gonna help their self-esteem. I knew a person in my own family who he grew up as the youngest of 5 kids. All of his siblings were sisters. So he grew up babied by his older sisters and his mama. He also grew up with a mother who had a lot of guilt because his father wasn't there. And so out of this guilt and with him being babied and coddled by his sisters, he became a very weak kind of man, right? He got his teenage years and his adult years. He wasn't doing much. He could go out and get a girl pregnant, but he didn't take care of any babies. He would go lay up with all these women, but he never really added anything to their lives. They would be the one working every day. He'd be at home doing whatever he was doing, smoking weed or whatever. He'd get in trouble. His mother would go bail him out. His mother was broke. She didn't have any money. And but she had to, she mortgaged the house and stuff to get him out of jail. And so, and then he would show up to his mom's house. And his mom had, the same struggles that any 50, 60-year-old Black woman has. She needed the grass cut. She needed the house painted, whatever. And he wouldn't think to do any of that. He didn't think, okay, I'm a man. My mother needs me. I'm going to do these things for my mother, right? He would just show up and say, can I borrow $20, right? And she would just loan him money, And this relationship that started when he was a child, this relationship lasted until he was 52 and she was 76. So here she was, a senior citizen on a fixed income, had cancer, barely getting around, and still has this 52-year-old man knocking on her door every couple of weeks saying, can I borrow some money? And so what I'm saying is that if you don't sort of break that plate and help the children become empowered at an early age, then it's going to really drain the living hell out of you as you get older. But if you do it the other way, where you're there for them, but you empower them, then what will happen is when your kids get older, they'll be a huge asset for you financially. Like my parents, my parents, I'm not a liberal, right? I'm not a conservative. I'm not a Republican. How about this? I'm not a Republican. I might be a little conservative in a Farrakhan kind of way, right? I'm a little conservative, and my conservatism comes out in me saying like, okay, we can do this ourselves. Whatever they can do, we can do, right? Well, if you can't compete, then then you're gonna lose, right? Like that's just kind of how I am. And where does that come from? Well, my father was like a real tough kind of, like, he's a Vietnam vet, kind of like, like he wasn't big on like letting you feel sorry for yourself or anything like that. If your life went bad because you made a bad choice, he would say, well, why did you make that choice? Of course, you're screwed because you keep making dumb decisions. He didn't make excuses, right? And my mother, would always tell us that she would say really depressing things like, my goal is to make sure that y'all gonna be okay if I die. And who wants to hear that when you're 7 years old, right? But that was like her thing. Her thing was like, I need my kids to be independent. I don't really care. She didn't really care a whole lot if we liked her or didn't like her. She would just say, well, I need you to be able to take care of yourself. And so as we got older, and now here's the thing: when I was growing up, most of my mother's friends, they didn't raise their kids the way my parents did. They thought my parents were kind of mean, and also their kids, just kind of got into stuff. Like most of my friends growing up, just kind of, maybe went to prison. Maybe one of my really good friends got hooked on drugs. Most of them, one of them is a registered sex offender. Like, who does it? You look up an old friend from back in the day to see how they're doing. Your homeboy from the 8th grade, and you find out he's like a registered sex offender. You're like, oh my God, so a lot's happened since 1995, huh? But anyway, that was kind of the norm. Like, I can't point to a lot of successful Black men and women that I knew growing up. I'm talking about kids I played with, stuff like that. Well, I think my parents did something right because, I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm doing okay. My sister's a medical doctor, and my brother went to Cornell. He runs his own business. He's the one that lives in Columbia. And none of my mother's friends, when me and my mama lived in the projects together, when she was a single mom before she married my father, and we would all live, it was all three of us in the projects together. Like, we didn't have any friends who had kids that grew up and became lawyers and doctors and all that, right? So they did something a little bit different. And so I think that encourages all the mothers and the fathers out here who are raising your kids a little bit different. I think that if you kind of do what feels good and what everybody's telling you to do, or what feels like it's fashionable and fits in, I think that you're at risk of really having your children end up in the same boat as everybody else. That's why people think that Blackness is a trap that you are put in at birth that you can never escape from no matter what you do, because everybody kind of submits to that, and they submit to kind of doing what everyone else did. And there's a whole system, like the white supremacist system, that is not going to design a pathway for Black people to be empowered. So if you follow that beaten path, then you're going to end up getting beaten. You're going to end up right where everybody else is, right? So follow the beaten path, you end up getting beaten. My parents didn't follow that beaten path. They just went on a whole different trajectory in terms of the things that they would tell us every day, the things that I thought were normal. That's why a lot of people don't like me to this day. That's why I have a lot of enemies. I have a lot of famous enemies. I have a lot of people. You go out on the internet, you find a lot of people that say Boyce Watkins is full of shit. He's an asshole. He hates Black people. He's sexist. He's blah, 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 blah. It really comes from the fact that I'm not trying to say what is popular. I'm trying to say what I think is right, what makes sense. So, so if I see something with the Me Too movement, I say, wait a minute, how are they going to lock this guy up just because what somebody said, and there's no evidence? Like, that doesn't make any, there should be evidence, shouldn't there? Like that's really what ends up happening, right? So only a few people, I think, can really get that. And so anyway, here's the thing. When me and my family talk to this day now, this goes back to what I was saying about raising your children to be empowered enough to actually want to help you, and how they can actually be assets, as opposed to raising them to always sort of eat off of you and leech off of you. We don't do that. Like with my parents, like they pay their bills, we pay our bills. None of us ever would even feel comfortable going to our parents for money. Like that just wasn't even something we ever talked about. Doesn't mean that they couldn't help if they'd wanted to, but that's not even like part of the culture. Like if they help, they'd be like, well, what's wrong? What are you doing? Are you on drugs? Like, why do you need my money? Right. And then the good thing though is now we're actually empowered to give them the life that they want. So my parents will never want for anything. You know, when they wanted to go see my brother in Colombia, I said, okay, I'll get the ticket. When my mother said she casually mentioned, I really want to get me an Apple Watch. So I text my assistant. I said, buy my mama an Apple Watch for her birthday, like right then, right? And it made me feel good as a son to be able to do that for my mother. And it makes my mother feel good as a mom to know she raised kids that understand their power in improving the lives of the people that they love. So when what happens is your family is a business. Your family is like a business. Your family is an economic engine. And if all the parts of the engine are moving on all cylinders, if all the cylinders are fully functioning and productive, then it becomes a very powerful engine. The engine becomes weak if you've got one cylinder that's doing all the work and the other cylinders are sitting there as dead weight. That's what I see when I see a household where you've got some mother, some poor 58-year-old mom going out working 3 jobs to pay the rent, and she's got 4 grown-ass sons sitting on the couch every day, you know, like watching ESPN and smoking weed. Like that doesn't even, I don't understand that. And I'm not even looking at just the boys. I'm not looking at just the mom. I'm looking at everybody. I'm like, how is everybody complicit in this chaos that's occurring right now? Do you know that if any, I had this tough conversation with a mom one time who had I think 2 sons and a grandson and a nephew, and they were all living in the house. And she was talking about how she can't pay the rent. And I said, I don't understand that. Like, you're very wealthy. She said, no, I'm not. I don't have any money. I said, no, you have a lot of wealth. You have all those healthy men that could be working. Do you know how much that's worth? like labor, the ability to perform labor is an asset. That's what they call human capital. So I said, as a finance professor, I don't understand how you could ever say you're poor. You've got a lot of assets around you. It's just they're not being activated. Your engine has several cylinders, but only one of them's working. You know, so think about, when you're thinking about wealth, think of this as a family and a cultural concept. It is every bit as psychological and cultural as it is economic and mathematical, right? The economics and the mathematics work when the psychology and the culture are consistent with that. So anyway, let me answer a couple of your questions. Okay, the URL for the kids program, it's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. So if you want to do our business school for children and enroll your kids, it's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. Let's see here. Somebody says off-track betting. I don't know what that means, David Butler. I'm sorry, brother. I don't know what that means. Rashad, do Digital Underground members get a discount? Yes, they do. Talk to the people in the Digital Underground. They can connect you to the discount. If you don't, if you're not able to talk to them, send an email to support@theblackbusinessschool.com, support@theblackbusinessschool.com. They respond very quickly, and we have an excellent customer support. We invest a large percentage of our money in good customer support because we don't want a lot of unhappy Black people going around and saying that we are scam artists because we actually believe that we can form a university the way white people do. That's one of the honest things you deal with as a Black business, is that a lot of Black people just don't trust you. It's very weird. Like, they'll go pay $50,000 a year to go to a white university with mediocre professors. But, you know, with our professors, they're better than university professors because they're Black and they have experience and they have credentials from the highest universities, Stanford, Harvard, Cornell, all this stuff. But also, you can't learn from Dr. Claude Anderson at Harvard University. You know, there is no Dr. Claude Anderson. He's a little bit, you mix Claude Anderson with, say, a Jay Morrison, and you get something that's probably as good or better than a Marcus Garvey, right? Claude Anderson plus Jay Morrison, I believe, exceeds a Marcus Garvey. You're not going to learn Marcus Garvey-like ideas at a white university, because what white universities are designed to do, to be honest with you, is they're designed to teach other white people to go work for other white people. And if you're Black and you're at a white university, then you're being trained to go work for white people. Doesn't mean white people are evil. I don't hate white people. I don't really have the energy to sit around mad at white folks because they don't have that much power over me. But it's sort of a devastating kind of trap to put yourself into, right? So with the Black Business School, our unique angle is we're trying to teach you to sort of break away from that system. We're teaching you to sort of believe enough in us to say, if they can develop a system that you already believe in, right? Why can't we develop a system that you can believe in too? You know, if you believe in your degree that you got from West Texas State University, so, you know, some mediocre school with mediocre faculty, why can't you believe in the degree that you got from the Black Business School, where you've got world-leading attorneys and world-leading PhDs? Dr. Venetia Dutra has a doctorate in finance. Do you know how rare that is? That's almost as rare as a doctorate in nuclear physics. Like, that is very, very few Black women have a PhD in finance. Sure, you've got a lot of self-proclaimed financial gurus. Yeah, I got myself out of debt. I have an MBA. I worked in corporate America. Dr. Dutra teaches people who get MBAs. She teaches people who get PhDs. She teaches people from corporate America who will go to the University of Denver and pay $40,000 a year to learn from her. These are the kinds of people that you have in the Black Business School, top-notch faculty. So basically, that's what we're doing. We're trying to flip it on its head and really sort of teach you all the tools you need to kind of supplement everything else you're learning. Like, if you went to college, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I just hope the debt didn't set you back too much, because if the debt is too heavy, it's almost like trying to run a race when you're like really overweight. Like, even if you're a great runner, imagine if you're a great, marathon runner, right? And I'm thinking about running analogies because I've been running a lot. Imagine if you are one of the best runners in the world, and you're in position to possibly win the race or catch up with the people that are way ahead of you. Imagine if somebody comes along and they literally put 150 pounds on your body. Like, they literally make your stomach 150 pounds heavier. They put a weight of 150 pounds around your waist. Are you going to win that race? No, you're not. It's going to be hard to do, right? Maybe if you were, 150 pounds, you could have won, but now you're 300 pounds. That's hard to do, right? That's what student loan debt kind of does in the competitive economics. It is such a heavy weight that even if you're the best runner in the world, it's very difficult for you to, to catch up and win. So what I want to encourage people to do, this is what I'm doing for my niece. I go back to my niece. The best thing I can teach you to do with your family is what I'm doing with my own. Is I told my brother, I said, and unfortunately he agreed with me. I mean, he's her dad, so he can veto anything I say at any point. But I said, man, I don't really care if she goes to college or not. I'm a college professor. I can teach her. I know college professors on the internet that can teach her as well as she can learn in college. I said, and the one thing I don't want to do, I said, if she does go to college, I want to invest in tutors for her while she's young so she can get a scholarship. We'll put out a few $100s a month or whatever to get her a tutor so that she can actually have good grades and be able to get a scholarship so she doesn't have to go $200,000 in debt going to college. Or even if she didn't have to go into debt, let's say, she gets wind that Uncle Boyce put aside a few $100,000 for her. Well, if all she does is takes that money, like let's say it's up to 400 grand. If all she's going to do is take that 400 grand and go give it to a white person, then damn it, that's a waste of time. Like, why did I spend 20 years building up a $400,000 for you to go give it right back to the same people I've been fighting against for all this time? No, I'm not going to do that, right? So what I'm saying is that I think the people that are going to really get ahead are the ones who jump off of the beaten path. You got to question everything. Anyway, let me keep going. Let me ask some more questions. Teresa says, have you invested in the Tulsa Fund? Yes, I have. And I invested, I think about $10,000. And I'm very happy with it. I like Jay Morrison a lot. Jay Morrison's a good person, based on what I've seen. I mean, I don't know everything about him. I don't know every detail and nothing like that. But I've never once seen any situation in which Jay has done anything that led me to question who he is as a human being. And also, I think it's important to understand that even if the Tulsa Fund does not succeed, that does not mean that Jay made a mistake in creating the fund. That's very important for you to understand. Investing doesn't have guarantees. It's like basketball. Just because LeBron is the best basketball player in the world, or one of the best, that doesn't mean he's going to hit every shot. And somebody who doesn't understand basketball is the kind of person who says, Oh, well, I thought LeBron was a great player, and I saw him out on the court, and he took a shot, and it didn't even hit. It was an air ball. You know, no, man, like no, it's about the law of averages. You take one shot, you miss, but he hits the next two, right? So a lot of times, a lot of really good entrepreneurs, a lot of really good investors still make bad investments, but if you don't have the right mindset, or if you're afraid or whatever, then you're going to get it wrong, because you're going to give up as soon as things don't look so good. Like cryptocurrency. Somebody's asking about cryptocurrency. What do I think about cryptocurrency? You know what? My take on crypto is about the same as it was a year ago. A year ago, crypto was taking off. I started buying Bitcoin when it was like maybe $1,000, $2,000. It went up to 20,000. I kept buying all the way up. Then it went down. I still made money because I started buying at 1 or 2,000, right? I still believe in crypto. I still believe in all of that, because investing is not a sprint. Investing is a marathon. You don't invest because you think something's going to make money next week. You invest because you believe it can make money over the next decade or so. Warren Buffett actually says that if you're not prepared to own a stock for at least a decade, then you should never own it at all. If you're not prepared to sit there and watch that damn thing for 10 years, then don't buy it. Don't even get in the game. Don't even get it. You ain't going to be making money by next Friday. So don't come in with that mindset. Because a lot of people have that mind, with the crypto thing. They're like, oh, well, do you regret telling people about crypto now that the crypto market's tanked? I'm like, well, do you understand that the crypto market has tanked like 6 or 7 times in the last decade? And each time it recovered, each time it went back up. The crypto experts will tell you that there have been several times where crypto went way, way, way up, then it went, and everybody said, oh, crypto's over. And then it would come back and go way, way, way up again, and then what you look at is the long-term fundamentals of the industry. You look at blockchain just as a concept. Like, can this thing work? Can this, this method of establishing alternative currencies to represent different exchanges in value, can this work? Do I know if for certain any of this? No, I don't. But when I looked at it, I said, I think this thing can really work, and I want to be there when it does. That's how people get rich. Most people don't get rich because they invested in a sure thing. They got rich because they invested in something that might turn out to be something great. And even if the crypto market crashed and burned and died, and I never made a penny and lost every penny I put in, that still is better than if I'd taken that money and spent it at the mall. All the people who criticize a bad investment are the dumbest people in the world, because they don't understand that when you don't invest, you're making the dumbest investment of all. And I'm not calling you dumb. If you're in that category, you're not dumb, because you clearly aren't dumb, because you're here. No matter where you are, I respect you for wanting to do better with your life. That's what I really love. That's what makes you part of the talented 10th in my mind. But seriously, how are you going to criticize an investment? Let's say an investment in the Tulsa fund. Let's say you put 10,000 in the Tulsa fund. 5 years later, it goes down to 8,500. And some idiot who never invested a penny in his life comes up and says, oh, I told you that Negro was full of it. You lost that money. You put 10,000 in and you went down 1,500. At least you've got money to show for it, because that same idiot who's criticizing and making fun of you for losing 15% of your investment, they too spent $10,000 and they don't have anything left. Their investment went down to zero, because you don't get a chance to make any money by spending your money at the mall. There's no chance you're going to get anything back except maybe a pair of pants or a new car or a hat or some Beyonce tickets or whatever it is that you think that you're going to get. There's no chance. But when you invest, at least you've got a shot. And that's the goal. The goal is not to know for sure that your shots will go in. It's positioning yourself so that if that shot does sink, you're going to have 2 points. But if you don't take a shot at all, then you've guaranteed that you've missed every single shot. You always miss the shot that you don't take. Now, somebody asked, am I going to be in Hidden Colors 5? No, Tariq did not ask me to be in Hidden Colors 5. I hope he's not upset with me or something like that. But then again, it's like the convention. I didn't ask Tariq to come to the All Black National Convention, but it was no disrespect to him. It's just, it didn't cross my brain. Like, I was talking to different people. In fact, I will ask him probably to come to the next. I think the next one, I really want David Banner to come. David is a good friend of mine. I really like David a lot. So if you know David, tell him that he's going to get a call from me, because I'm going to invite him to the next convention, because I think David Banner is just a stand-up person. I really respect him a lot. And also with Tariq, he's an extraordinary filmmaker, and he and I are friends. And no, he didn't ask me to be in Hidden Colors 5. So
I don't know. I don't know if I should be offended or not. I don't think I won't be. I'm just kidding. I'm not offended at all. Let me see here. Let's see. Pamela says, I'm with the BBS. Do I have to pay for the VIP passes for Philly? If you are in the Black Business School, you still, the prices are pretty much the same. But since you guys are in here, actually, if you use the code word Philadelphia, when you buy your ticket, use the code word Philadelphia. I just set that up. If you use the code word Philadelphia, it'll take something off your ticket. So use that code word when you buy. And this is something I'm just sharing with you guys because you guys are here. It's allblacknationalconvention.com. That's the URL, allblacknationalconvention.com. Anonymous, someone who's anonymous says, would you recommend an app like Stash for investing for a baby or an actual trust? I think you can do either one. I think trusts are good because trusts allow you to set rules on the money. With the trust, you kind of have the trustor, the trustee, and the beneficiary. The trustor is the person who funds the trust, which will be you. The trustee is the person who protects the money, or the entity. It could be a company or a person, and it could also be you, or it could be somebody else. That person decides, they write the checks out of the trust. And then there's the beneficiary, who's the person that the trust is made for. And the beneficiary could actually be you. So a lot of times the trustor, trustee, and the beneficiary, if I'm not mistaken, could actually be the same person. If you want to know about trust and how to set it all up for your family, a great person to learn that from is attorney Nicole Compton in theblacklegalprogram.com, theblacklegalprogram.com. Don't forget the THE. She's actually teaching about trust and estate planning right now. And the reason that if you're thinking about joining a class, the reason this is a great class for you is not just because you're learning all different aspects of law and you can get a certificate, but also because you get a chance to talk to really expensive lawyers for like a couple of dollars a day. I think the program, in fact, the first month is totally free, so it won't cost you anything at all for the first 30 days. But in theblacklegalprogram.com, Nicole Compton goes in there at least once a week, and she's sitting there and she's like, what questions do you have? Anybody who's ever gone to see a lawyer knows lawyers don't sit and answer your questions for nothing, right? Usually they're going to charge you $200 an hour, $300 an hour, $400 an hour. In this program, these lawyers are available. And they're very good lawyers. They're lawyers I've worked with myself, lawyers who've handled cases for me. And so, again, the best advice I can give you is advice about life or whatever, that, you want to do next that I'm doing for myself. I don't want to say financial advice because I think there's like a caveat you're supposed to give, like this is not financial advice, this is not legal advice. So I'm not giving financial and legal advice. I'm just sort of telling you like what I do and offering you the same people who work with me and work for me. David Butler, with the real estate plan, is it going to be fertile land for growing? I'm a graduate of Southern Black College, living in New York City, of a Southern Black College. Okay, we have to be able to feed ourselves. That's something to think about. I agree with you 100%. I had a really interesting meeting with Farrakhan and his people about 3 years ago, and he flew me out to Arizona, and he had a room full of advisors, economic advisors who had credentials in various areas of economics. And all we did was we sat there for 12 hours and we made a long-term economic plan for the Black community. Now, I don't know exactly what the Nation of Islam did with the results of that meeting, but I remember that the Nation of Islam, I'm so impressed with them because in that meeting, they had their experts there that were taking, very close notes on everything we said. The minister is literally like the Black Iron Man because he sat there the whole 12, 13 hours. It was 13, 14 of us in the room. He sat there the whole time. He didn't like leave and say, well, I'm 82, I need to go take a nap. No, this man sat there the entire time and was very sharp the whole time. I got tired. I was ready for a nap and everything. Ms. Farrakhan was there. He was alert the entire time. And so one of the things that did come up was that conversation about having complete supply chains, where we can grow the food, get it to the market, and sell the food, that people can cook in their kitchen. And we know the source of that food. So I agree, food security is very important. I'm not an expert on that, but we've got, people in the Black Business School who are farmers and stuff. And so John Jamerson, for example, is a big supporter of the school. And he actually runs a Black farm. So we're going to dig more into that. Let me see here. Oh, so you are a master builder too, says David Butler. Oh, this man's going to be ready for the zombie apocalypse. So if the zombies ever take over, brother, I'm going to go live with you. Frank S says, Dr. B, do you plan on purchasing an existing building or constructing a new building? I think I'm going to purchase an existing building, but construction isn't out of the question. I'm asking because I'm a construction project manager. I like to participate in the project team. I'm studying the legal course in your school, which is great. Okay, so you're in the Black Legal program. You like it, good. Thank you for the endorsement. Where can I email you for further details? Email manager@boycewatkins.com. That's manager@boycewatkins.com. And tell her that I sent you, and tell her to make the note kind of short because she gets a lot of emails and I want to make sure she reads it. And tell her to put you on like a list or a database of people we can consult with on that, because I would actually like to know how to do that. Because I'm not a construction guy. But we're gonna I'm gonna go raise the money, and once we raise the money, we're gonna build that school. And I don't want to just build one school. I'm gonna build 500 schools. I wish I could like go and like be a body double for Floyd Mayweather, like have him kidnapped and be turned into him, so I could literally be him for like 2 weeks, so I could take some of that money he's got, and I would literally build an entire school system for Black people all around the United States. Like that would be one of the main things I would do. So because if we take over education, then we kind of take over a lot of things. We at least protect ourselves from white supremacy and the imperialism of other groups of people. And that's extremely important in this process of us overcoming and getting strong. Let's see, Jacqueline says, I'm a Freedom Family member. I got 2 tickets for the convention. Are those considered VIP tickets? I think you want to double check, but I think that they are actually. I think if you are a member of the Freedom Family, you get a free VIP ticket. So, but double check that. But I do believe that is true. Julian Gordon teaches in the Freedom Families. He's the Stanford graduate who is awesome. Like, if you've ever seen Julian speak, you will be a different person after you hear Julian talk. And he's not just talking, he's really teaching something that's really powerful and it's going to change your perspective. Let's see here. Tommy says, I'm proud to be a student at the Black Business School. Well, I'm very proud of you, and I'm very proud that you joined us. So thank you so much. Rashad says, when's the next 48-hour business school? We'll probably do one in late November. 48-hour business school is where we get people together in a room for 2 days, and they kind of kick your butt and push you to get your business off the ground, to really help you kind of make that final move forward, get it done, get it in, get it over, and make that business real. It's a good program. A lot of people love it. It's, in fact, it's one of our more popular programs. We just have to pull our stuff together to do another kind of event. Honestly, like when you're running a business like the one we have, where we reject a lot of the traditional funding sources, like we don't take money from the government. We don't want to take money from any political party. We'll never do that. We don't take money from corporations. And then banks, a lot of banks don't really like to lend to Black businesses, especially with someone like me at the head, where I'm kind of seen as a little bit radical. I kind of reject most systems because a lot of them are infected with white supremacy. It's hard to kind of raise capital. Like that's why Jay Morrison's move with the Tulsa Fund was so important. It's because, Jay went out and actually became a bank. His fund is now a bank for real estate. And I was like, this is beautiful. So a lot of times you have to have your own bank. You have to be your own bank. In fact, there's a lecture in the blackstockmarketprogram.com, theblackstockmarketprogram.com, where there's a lecture I did on how to build your own family bank. A lot of you, I just want you to kind of, when you go forward, you have to go forward, in your quest for freedom from a realistic standpoint. One of the places where I think we're not as realistic is a lot of people think that you can have this great idea and go get a bank to give you, $500,000 or whatever to get your business off the ground. I've seen that happen to a few random white people, but it doesn't usually happen to most people I know. I just don't see that very often. So what will happen over time is that you have to know how to form your own family bank. Well, that requires you to kind of understand, what does it mean to have a bank? All a bank is basically like an endowment, like the way a university has an endowment. What is an endowment? Well, an endowment is just basically a pile of resources that you can go to when you need something, right? So an endowment might be like a refrigerator. Imagine a refrigerator full of food, and you're exercising, and every time you get hungry, you go in the fridge and you grab something to eat, right? That's all a bank is. A bank is kind of, it's an endowment. It's a big pile of resources that you can go to so that you have what you need in order to do what's important to you. So if I'm exercising and I've got a big pile of bananas and strawberries and oranges and apples, that's my endowment that allows me to refuel myself when I run out of energy, right? So the same thing is true with your business. When your business has access to capital, it might be a line of credit, it might be a bank loan, it might be your own family bank. you've got an endowment, so that as you're functioning and operating as a business, you've got a pile of resources you can go to grab out of those resources and get what you need. You follow me? And so what happens with Black people, the reason a lot of Black businesses can't move forward is because when they look for their endowment, they're looking to white people to provide that for them. They're looking to, Chase Bank, or they're looking to a white venture capitalist to provide the money. And one of two things either happens. Either one, this is what happens most of the time, you don't get the money. They just, you fill out your application, you do everything right, and you just don't get it. Or two, the money comes with unbearable conditions attached. Like we're going to fund your program, but you got to follow this rule, this rule, this rule, and this rule. So you get too Black, we're going to take away your funding. You don't do what we say, we're going to take away your funding. If we just wake up on the wrong side of the bed one morning, we're going to take away your funding. That's why it's very dangerous to form Black businesses, because Black people have been so marginalized, and we don't have any friends in this country, really, collectively. It's very hard for Black businesses to be truly independent and to rely on an endowment that is provided by a white supremacist institution. So when I see Black people who are standing on platforms that are built by the Democratic Party, I know how that game works. I say, wow, if he gets out of line and he says something that they don't approve of, if he gets too Black, he's done, right? Or you see a business that starts and they'll say, oh, well, this Black Girls Rock organization got $1 million from such and such a corporation to go and teach Black girls how to code. That's a good thing, but it always comes with strings attached in terms of, there's some agenda you have to promote, some agendas you must avoid. You can't, so if the founder goes out and says something that's too radically Black, the funding is going to get cut, right? Because the controversy, that's why Farrakhan gets so heavily marginalized, because Farrakhan has an agenda that's not accepted, right? So he has to form his own bank. The Nation of Islam has to be its own bank and have its own endowment, its own set of resources it can tap into, because you'll never see Louis Farrakhan brought to you by Walmart, right? You'll never see the Nation of Islam is having their Founders Day, or I think it's Savior's Day or Founder. I think I want to say Savior's Day. I feel bad that I don't remember the name. But you know what I'm talking about? Like the Nation of Islam is having their big annual event, and it's brought to you by McDonald's and Coca-Cola, IBM, and the Democratic Party. Like, you're not gonna see that, right? And it's good that you don't see that, because he who has the gold makes the rules. He who pays the bills decides the agenda. Don't ever think that that's not true. Don't ever think that 99 times out of 100 that you can have an independent Black organization that's pursuing an aggressively independent Black agenda that is getting its bills paid by a white supremacist organization. And most of them are white supremacist organizations. It might not even be vicious white supremacy. It may not even be built on, it may not even be built on, oh, we don't like Black people and we want to keep Black people down. No, it might be built on, yeah, we really like your organization, Tyrone, and we're glad that we're glad to fund it, but we're not comfortable with what you said about, XYZ, or your LGBT position is not acceptable here at Apple Computer. Or, you can't say that about feminism, that's not appropriate, right? And it doesn't mean that those ideas are bad. It just means that, that sovereignty is extremely important in terms of us really developing the core and the base of strength that we need in order to get strong. To develop a strong community, you can't just sort of have everybody chasing a job. I went to visit the Nike Corporation, and I became friends with some of the people who had the Jordan brand. I have a lot of respect for the guys who run the Jordan brand. I've never met Michael Jordan. I can't speak to him about him one way or the other. But the guys who run the Jordan brand, the CEO, Larry Miller, smart guy. I have a lot of respect for Larry Miller. So, but the thing was, I talked to him about, some of the initiatives that Nike had, because, Nike's getting a lot of accolades, as they should, for supporting Colin Kaepernick, which I'm glad they did. And I said, I think it's great that they have a lot of programs to bring the students in, to teach them, to give them jobs and opportunities and show them how to design shoes and all. I think that's great. But I said, out here in the streets, man, we need brothers that are learning how to really create their own businesses. Where is the Black Phil Knight, who's going to go beyond just working at a shoe company and is going to design and create a shoe company, right? Where are our Phil Knights? Where are our Mark Zuckerbergs? Where are we nurturing those people who are going to build the future? Because Nike can't hire 40 million black people. Nobody can. You can't carry a load that big. And so what will happen is, if you're not careful, you're going to have one person who succeeds a little bit. They're hit with, survivor's guilt. So they're tricking their money away, taking care of all these relatives who make them feel bad because they're doing bad and he's doing good. He moves out of the hood to get away from the streets or whatever. And also, that's one job for one person. That's not the same as creating one person who has the ability to develop 200-300 jobs. Now imagine if you had that same person. Imagine if every black person who was qualified enough to go work at Nike was also qualified enough to develop a Nike, right? Like, imagine if every black person who was ever good enough to be an employee at a big corporation was trained from birth to actually create a corporation. So, and let's say all those people, once they've done their time and they've worked for somebody, they take their skill and they build a business around that skill. Let's say it's 10,000 people. Well, a lot of those people are going to fail. Some of them aren't going to succeed. Not everybody is going to be at the top of the pile. We know this. Not everybody's going to survive. That's how the game works. Not every shot you take on the basketball court is going to go in. But if you take 10,000 shots, you're going to hit a few thousand shots that you never would have hit if nobody took a shot, right? And also what's going to happen is there's going to be a small percentage of those people who are going to build massive companies that are going to go and employ in the next 20, 30 years. They're going to employ 100,000, 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 black people. And then what's going to happen is, instead of one person succeeding and having survivor's guilt and giving their paycheck away to everybody because they're feeling bad because everybody's doing bad except for them, there's nothing worse than being the only black person in your family who's doing good and everybody else is struggling. There's nothing worse than that. A lot of y'all know what I'm talking about. Holla if you hear me. If you've ever been the one person in your family who's doing well and everybody's struggling, you ain't got nobody you can turn to, nobody that can give you advice, nobody that can help you out. Everybody shows up like this, right? It's terrible, right? But instead of that, if you train that person to be a job creator, then they then have the ability to really elevate the whole community. Like, they can go in and literally do what white people do, what white folks have done to build their power. What they've done is they've taken their entrepreneurs, their captains of industry who built massive corporations. And then those captains of industry looked at their own people. They didn't look at you. They looked at other white folks. They looked at, if I'm an Irish immigrant, I'm looking at the other Irish. If I'm an Italian immigrant who created Bank of America, I'm going to look at other Italian people. If I'm Jewish, I'm looking at other Jews. And they said, we need to train these people up so they can all come and work with our corporation and become a part of what we got going on. So then they will go back, and that's when they develop other institutions like their universities to train people up so that they can then go work at these corporations when they're done. Right. So like when I went to visit Indiana University, I had my Indiana shirt on earlier. Oh, I can't find it. It's somewhere around. But anyway, I went to visit Indiana University, where I actually used to teach business in the business school. And I was walking through this school, beautiful school, and I'm seeing all these corporate partners, like they're partners with, it might be Sony and then, IBM and Nike or whatever. Right. And I was thinking, this is so interesting. I wonder why these schools or these companies are giving money to these schools and building these institutions, like writing checks for $1 million to these schools. Oh, because they're training up the young people in the next generation who can then come and work with these companies and strengthen these institutions. So for black people, the long-term economic power plan for black people is one that looks like this. It's one where we take that talented 10th, your children, I'm talking about your kids, and some of y'all might even be as young as 18 years old, 17 years old who are in here. So take you and your children and train them, a large percentage of them, to be the captains of industry who are going to start the businesses. Some of your children are not going to build $1 billion company. Some of your kids might end up working for somebody, and that's okay too. But then some of your kids are going to become like Bill Gates. They're going to become like Steve Jobs. They're going to become like Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, is worth $150 billion. His company is now worth $1 trillion. And what's going to happen is they're going to employ tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of black people. Why? Well, because you're educating them off the beaten path. You're not educating them to believe that to be a successful black person, I must emulate a white person. In order, you're not allowing them to believe that in order for me to rise up as a black person, I must get away from Black people. I must get away from Black neighborhoods. I must let go of Black culture, right? That's because that's what happens, right? When you're like, oh, I want to do what's best for my child, so I'm gonna send them to this school for gifted kids with white and Asian kids, and I'm gonna send them to Brown University, and I'm gonna teach them as much as possible on how to not be Black, so they'll go get a job, move away, and just disconnect and stay away. Just stay away. Everything Black is bad. Stay away, stay away, stay away. No. We're educating the children differently. We're trying to teach them like, look, every Black person ain't your friend. That's just a reality. You got all kinds of people. You got the geniuses, and then you got the mumble rappers, right? You got the kids that want to do something great, and then you got the kids that want to destroy everything good, right? But everybody is part of your family. This is your family. And even if you are detached from people for a period of time, there has to be some sort of love you show for the community from which you came. You must still come back to the same garden, even if it looks like the soil is dead, even if so many flowers have died. You must come back, and your seeds only have value if you're planting those seeds in the garden from which you came. It does not matter how many seeds you go plant in the Asian garden. Who cares about that? I don't care how many seeds you plant in the suburban garden. Big deal. I don't care what you're doing over here with these other people. That doesn't matter. All that matters, the only thing that has value in terms of your accomplishment is what you're going out into the world and bringing back right here to the hood, to your people, right? So you want to be a real estate mogul, build your real estate empire in the hood. You want to be an educator, come educate Black kids in the hood. You want to be motivational speaker, you want to be a business owner, well, build your business right here in the hood. You ain't gotta hire everybody. You ain't gotta work with everybody. Again, remember, there's some people, not every Black person is your friend. That's just a fact, right? But when you pick the right people to work with your organization, you're going to pick people who look like you, who are connected to the same community from which you came, and everything that you are, everything that makes you special and great is being brought back to your community in its fullest weight. You're not some okie doke Negro who's living out in the suburbs, who thinks you're giving back because you write a check to the Boyce Club for $100 a month. That's cute, but they're not getting the best of you. You're making the Black community into your side chick. We don't want you to make the Black community into your side chick. We need the Black community to be your wife, right? A man, if you pay attention, how does a man treat the wife versus how does he treat the side chick? The side chick gets what's left over. The wife gets the best of him. The side chick only gets the time that he has that his wife doesn't want, right? So we need to raise children where they don't see the Black community as the side chick. We have a lot of people right now who don't want nothing to do with Black neighborhoods, don't want to be in Black neighborhoods, don't want to work with Black people. Look at how many celebrities you see who have their whole management team and it's nothing but white people. Or you saw that the NBA star Kevin Garnett was complaining because he lost $77 million. His financial advisors, none of them were Black, right? Like that doesn't make any sense. There are plenty of Black people who can give extraordinary financial advice. What is it that led you to not even think about going to your own community and just picking the good apples out and working with good Black people? You ain't got to work with the thugs. You ain't got to work with bad people, right? I was in Hollywood and I met a guy who was doing pretty well in Hollywood, and he was friends with another guy who was very famous, and you would know him if I said his name, but I won't call him out. And literally, and both of them were married. Well, wait, sorry. One of them was married to a white woman. The other one wasn't. And I remember that one of them had some problems with the IRS, and the other one he said, man, I got a great accountant who can help you with that. A great accountant. And he was like, yeah, she's this great Jewish lady who could really take good care of you, who could really get you where you want to get to. What was interesting was these two Black men in Hollywood, like they didn't even stop to even think. I'm sitting here and just listening to this conversation and thinking, man, like, am I weird that I'm the only one who's sitting there thinking like, why don't you go hire a Black person? Why? I know plenty of good Black accountants. Like, why wouldn't you hire, but it was like, it wasn't even in their consciousness to even think like, well, let's just see if we can find a good Black person first. And if we can't, we might hire somebody else, right? And that's really the idea. In fact, that's the whole ideology behind the All Black National Convention, is putting Blackness first. It doesn't mean that, if you have a company that you can't hire somebody who's not Black. It just means, give Black people a shot. Like, don't just write Black people off, unless it's like, cooking or dancing or sports. Like we got a lot of Black people that can do a lot of stuff. So why not try to search your community first when you're looking for who to hire? It doesn't mean you hate other people or you mistreat other people. It just means that you treat yourself first. You treat yourself well. So anyway, I'm going to stop talking. I've been on here for such a long time, but I'll answer a few of your questions before we bounce out. Charles says, what's your take on Stash Retire? I think Stash is cool. I don't use Stash Retire, but Stash is a good app to get started with in investing. So I do have an account with Stash. Tommy says, what about building a school in Brooklyn? I would love to build a school in Brooklyn. We have a lot of support in Brooklyn. I love the people in Brooklyn. When we went to Brooklyn, it was extraordinary. And the people in Brooklyn are different because they're very aggressive and they're very smart. New Yorkers are some of the best Black people that there are because New Yorkers don't take anybody's shit. They're very conscious. They're not afraid of white folks. They speak up. I love New York in that way. That's one thing I love about being in New York, because they got some of the best, baddest Black people I've ever seen. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's another extreme of like Black people that are harder to work with. I would say like Alabama or something, where you have people that like will get mad at you because you're too pro-Black. Like the self-hatred runs so deep sometimes in the South that you'll have Black people that will get really mad at you because you're upsetting white people. So it's very interesting. Did I speak or do anything at Indiana University? No, I didn't speak there. I went back there for a pilgrimage. Me and my fiance, well, she's gonna be my fiance at some point. But we met at Indiana University 25 years ago, and so we go back there just to, like reminisce. Let's see. Teresa says, I started a scholarship fund for low-income Black students in STEM and finance. Good for you. Email us about your scholarship fund, Teresa. I would love to maybe contribute or share it with other people. My manager's email is manager@boycewatkins.com. That's manager@boycewatkins.com. We created a couple scholarships. One, actually both of them went to the Freedom Home Academy International in Chicago. I just love that school. Like I really adopted that school the same way white folks, white corporations will adopt a university and keep funding or making donations. I felt that way about Freedom Home Academy International because that school, number one, that school educates Black kids better than any school I've ever seen. Because it's one thing to be smart. It's another thing when you're smart and you're very Black. When you're smart and Black, that makes you a double asset for the community. When you're smart and you question your Blackness, I don't know if that makes you as much of an asset. It's almost like I don't know. It's like when I was talking to a young lady about, she was looking to date like a guy that has some money, right? And I said, well, if you date a guy that has money, I don't know if you want to date a guy that has money and a lot of kids. And she said, well, why not? I said, well, because even if he makes a lot of money, that's not really going to be your money. Like he's going to be sharing his money with 3 other women, right? If he's got 3 other kids. But if he doesn't have any kids, then he's sharing that money with you, right? If he's a generous person, assuming that they're both equally generous. Well, same thing is true with educating a strong Black person. You got some Black kids that get high levels of education and they literally did everything opposite of Blackness to get there. Like, their mother didn't want them to be in the hood, so she took them out and sent them to this private school with all these white kids. He kind of does what the white kids do and lives with how the white kids live. Well, is he really an asset to the community? Yes. Hey, buddy, give me like a couple of minutes. Give me a couple minutes, Max. I'll be out in a second. That's okay. That's okay. My little nephew just came in. But then there's like that smart Black person who really understands where their energy should be placed, right? So to use the analogy to finish up, sorry, my brain got kind of tossed. He kind of walked in. Is like, like the young lady I was telling her, I said, if you have a guy that has a lot of money, but he's got like 3 kids and 3 babies mamas to take care of, that's going to make you feel like you're still struggling, right? Whereas if you have another guy that has money and he's not occupied, then his financial energy is going to be focused on you. So what we need is not just educated kids, we need focused kids that are really focused on their Blackness and not sort of like these sort of really, like ambiguously minded sorts of people where they kind of have this like we are the world and I'm a little bit of everything kind of mindset. I think that I would rather have a mediocre person who puts all their energy, concentrates all their energy into building for the Black community than to have an extraordinary person who only gives Black people his spare time and only gives Black people his spare change, right? Somebody who dives all the way in is usually going to be a better asset for the community. So I encourage you to raise your kids to just be people that dive all the way in. And what does that mean? Well, that means if they start a company and they're looking to hire people, they look in their community first. They say, okay, we need an engineer. I'm sure there's a lot of great Black engineers. We need a computer programmer. I'm sure where can we find a great Black computer programmer? I want to go shopping. Where's a good place to go buy Black? I want to go out to eat. Where's a good Black-owned restaurant, right? Just that kind of mindset. I want to be an educator. I want to work every day and give my knowledge to somebody. Well, where's a good place I can give my knowledge to Black people, right? Like, look at me, for example. Imagine if I was a white professor, or not a white professor, a Black professor, but I was teaching at like Yale, and I'm teaching like these white kids every day. And every now and then, in my spare time, I address the Black community if I felt like it was worth my time. Right? Would I be as much of an asset to you as I am where I'm here with you all the time, every day, week after week that I've been here? Some of y'all have been following me for 10 years, right? Would I be as much of an asset to you in that other scenario as I am to you right now, right? That's why it's important to go in it with both feet. We need a lot of Black people that are going to go in it with both feet. If we get a lot of that, if we get a lot of Black folks that are in it with both feet, and we build that for the next generation, then you're going to see Black folks become a powerhouse, like a force unlike anything anybody's ever seen. I really believe that if we did those basic things, made that 30-year plan for our children, arm them with a bunch of wealth, give them those Tomahawk missiles that they're going to need to fire back at white supremacy, arm them with knowledge, off the beaten path. I'm talking about knowledge about starting businesses, investing in real estate, investing in stocks and bonds, and then make sure that they're proficient in the other basic areas: reading, writing, math, and Black history. If they know those things at a high level, they really can't be stopped. They really will become such a force that other people will probably do some sort of underhanded thing to try to stop them. Okay, so let me see. Last thing I'm gonna do before I get out of here, I'll answer one more question. What do you think about those house flipping seminars? I think they're okay as long as you're getting the value that you're looking for. I'm not big on spending thousands of dollars on something that's not proven, but some of those seminars can be worth it if you can. Like, if you spend $5,000 on a seminar and you go out and make $100,000, then it's clearly a good investment. If you think about it, a lot of people won't spend like $1,000 on a seminar, but they'll go spend $40,000 a year, $50,000 a year sending their kids to college, and their kids come home and they can't do anything and they're confused. Well, it's because they didn't learn anything. So again, off the beaten path. That's the key. You got to question everything, get off the beaten path, because it's leading a lot of people to bankruptcy court. I'll tell you that. All right. So anyway, I'm going to go. Let me give you a couple of URLs you can walk away with if they help you. One is our kids program is at blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. That's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. I'm almost done with our entrepreneurship program for children, which will consist of animated videos and all different kinds of powerful content. If your kids are currently in the Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program, let us know. Say something so other people can know how great it is. Black Millionaires of Tomorrow, the first month is free if you're not a member yet. And the entrepreneurship program for children will be done soon. And if you are already a member of blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com, when the entrepreneurship program for children comes out, you can have that just by being a member. So you'll get that for free. Those of you whose children are not in that program, you can either sign up for the big program, which consists of everything your child needs to know about money, everything your child needs to know about real estate, everything your child needs to know about investing, everything your child needs to know about the stock market, all of that. And also, so if you join that, you'll get the new stuff for free. If you don't want to join that, then you could just get the entrepreneurship program on its own. So pretty soon, I'll make that announcement and make that launch. I'm super excited about it. It's really, really awesome. Also, the other cool thing is that when your child goes to our Black Business School for Children, once they finish the material, there are self-study exams and things like that they can take, so you can test them and make sure they know it. But once they finish the material, they can get a degree, they can get a certificate. And that's really, really important for their self-esteem. And I want you to really tell them, what this means. Like you graduated from this program. You are a young businesswoman. You are a young businessman. And I've seen it a billion times. There's a transformation that occurs within the child when they see this whole universe open up in terms of possibilities for how they can make money. Once a child learns how to make money as an investor or as a business owner, they never want to make their money as a laborer. They don't even want to go in that direction. That's not even something that crosses their mind, because they're thinking, well, how can I just start a business, sell lip gloss, or, or do a service for people, and I can make 10 times more money for half the work, right? So you don't want your child to be raised to make $20 an hour, $30 an hour, $40 an hour, $50 an hour. If you train them to be a great entrepreneur, your child can make $1,000 an hour, right? And that's sort of the major move that I think will make a big difference in the community. So that's why we're very, very focused on supporting and educating children. So for your kids, we got the Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program, which is at blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. The first month is free. You can give that a try. The second thing we have are financial flashcards, which some of you may have seen the flashcards, but these are the flashcards. I work with our kids in this house. They're not my children, but they're going to be my stepkids once I marry their mom. And basically, I have a lady that comes in as the sitter, and one of the things we ask the sitter to do is to work with them on the financial flashcards every day. These were invented by me for Black children only, and they have Black images, and they have the word Black in the title. So there's just sort of a point of clarity in terms of drawing the line in the sand. Doesn't mean white people can't use them. It just means the same way, you have Black kids go to white schools. We want white people to learn from, Black images. So anyway, so with these financial flashcards, it kind of covers all the key concepts, like, what is a loan? And then the definitions on the back. What is income? Notice the hands are Black. Everything on here is Black. What does it mean to invest? What is a consumer? What is a producer? So we teach kids to have to keep their poise. Poise stands for producer, owner, investor, saver. So I tell the kids, keep your poise. You want to be a producer, you want to be an owner, you want to be an investor, you want to be a saver. You do not want to be a spender. You do not want to be a borrower. You do not want to be a consumer all the time. One of the biggest handicaps financially for Black people is that we overconsume. We love to consume. We love to spend. And basically, it's training the kids early to understand, like, even if you spend a little, you invest more than you spend. So when Nike comes out and says, look at us, we got Colin Kaepernick on an ad, everybody go buy Nikes now. Your kid isn't going to do that. Your kid's going to say, yeah, I'm going to give me a pair of Nikes, but I'm also going to buy some Nike stock, right? And that allows them to have the proper balance. That allows them to build more than you give away. That's all wealth is. It's a matter of building more than you give away. So the financial flashcards, if you want to take a look at those, are at financialflashcards.com. That's financialflashcards.com. And the last thing is we actually have a curriculum we just put together. We spent a year and a half with educators, Black educators, who helped us put together one of the most beautiful, comprehensive financial curricula that you've ever seen. I'm really excited. We just got them done. And basically, we have curricula band for different grade bands. So we have curricula for 1st through 3rd, 4th through 6th, 7th through 9th, and then 10th through 12th. Right. So that's another way. So literally, if you want to homeschool your child or give them a homeschool business education, we've got the curriculum, we've got the flashcards, we've got the digital programs, and there's the degree they can get at the end. And what happens is that, is if your child knows this stuff, like if they know it cold, and just give them like incentivize them, like give them like $10. Say, hey, I'll give you $10 if you come back and you get all these questions right. Or if you memorize all these flashcards, I'll give you $20. It'll be the best $20 that you've ever spent in your life. I swear to God, it'll be a $20 investment that will literally breed $500,000 by the time your child is done. Because if your child learns these concepts early, these are college level concepts. This is the stuff I taught students at Syracuse University. This is stuff where college students, if you ask the average college graduate to go through here and define every card in this box, most college graduates cannot do it. And I'm talking about people who graduated from Harvard. Why? Well, because financial education isn't taught at the right level in this country, and it creates a lot of financial slavery. So give them, that's the easiest trick in the book. Just tell them, look, I'll give you $20 if you memorize 20 of these flashcards, or $1 per card. But you got to get it right. So just do that with your kids. Make that little investment. And what will happen is it's going to pay off for you in a lot of ways. Number one, you get to see your child transform right before your eyes. Once a child kind of learns about money, they're gonna really get excited about a lot of stuff that they weren't excited about before. Two, you're going to see them succeed. You won't have a child that's coming back borrowing money from you, telling you how hard it is because the white man's kicking his butt. You'll see a child that's out here thriving, doing great things, creating startup companies. Our oldest right now is in a program where he's doing business pitches. Now he's 15. He says, I want to pitch my business idea to see if you want to be an investor. I said, I can't wait to hear it, right? Third win. This is selfish. This benefits you. when you get older and you hit retirement, well, retirees are better off when they have wealthy kids. So when you're old and gray and you're on a fixed income, or maybe, you want to take an extra vacation, you don't want to work anymore. Well, now you've got kids who are doing extremely well financially, who can hire you. My mother is on my payroll, right? My father would be if he wanted to. He just didn't want to be, right? But it's great to have kids that can do those things for you. And if I was not an entrepreneur, I cannot do that for my parents. I can't take care of my parents on a paycheck, but I can take care of them with a business because I have an endowment. You understand? We have a family bank. So you're asking for the links. The link for the program is blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. That's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. The link for the flashcards is financialflashcards.com. Somebody please type that in so everybody can see it. Financialflashcards.com. The curricula are not available yet. We're going to unleash or unveil the curricula at the All Black National Convention. And that's the first place you'll be able to buy them. And then after that, later on, we'll probably put together some sort of package deal. Because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is we want to create a homeschool for business. And then we want to create a homeschool for everything. We want to gather empower Black educators that can help us create a digital homeschool so that we can bring together all the families that want to get away from the system. And we will focus on making sure that children are wired at the highest levels in these key areas: reading, so they can comprehend information at a high level; writing, so they can communicate what they comprehend and internalize; mathematics, so they can figure out how to start businesses and not get ripped off; entrepreneurship, so they can create a job instead of begging for one; Black history, so they know who the heck they are; and then 6 is critical thinking skills, so they can be strategic and make long-term plans and have the vision necessary to execute the highest levels. A child who is highly proficient at those 6 areas: reading, writing, math, Black history, entrepreneurship, and critical thinking skills / strategy, is a person that cannot be stopped. It would not surprise me if a child is educated in these areas at a high level. It wouldn't surprise me if they became president of the United States. It wouldn't surprise me if they became the CEO of a billion-dollar company. They certainly aren't a person who's going to go through life feeling like white people control everything they do. A strategic person can't be controlled like that. They're able to move too well. So what's the website again? Flashcards are financialflashcards.com. It's financialflashcards.com. The other program, the digital program, is blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. Last but not least, if you want to learn to invest or want to get in the stock market class, that's theblackstockmarketprogram.com. theblackstockmarketprogram.com. And the convention, okay, last URL, then I'm done because I'm losing my voice again. It's allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. That's where the live stream is. It's in Philadelphia in 2 weeks. So those of you who are coming, I'll see you there. I didn't plan on talking over 2 hours, but my God, I've been on here 2 hours and 20 minutes. I hope it was worth it for you guys. I really enjoyed it. It's always a pleasure. So you guys will hear from me soon, and I'll see you around. Peace.